Good afternoon. My name is Crystal Vanucci, and I'm the chairman of the Stafford County Board of Supervisors. Welcome, and we appreciate you taking the time to join our meeting today. The September 7th meeting of the Stafford Board of Supervisors is now officially called to order. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Allen. Ms. Bomke.
Here.
Mr. Cohen.
Here.
Mr. Dudenheffer. Ms. Lamb.
Here.
Mr. Snellings.
Here.
Ms. Vanucci.
Here.
Madam Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you. As part of my chairman's remarks today, I want to talk a little bit about Patriots Day. It was a day signed into law by Congress and first introduced to proclaim a national day of mourning. The amendment designated September 11th as Patriots Day and requested an annual presidential proclamation when signed into law. On April 21st, 2009, Congress expanded September 11th to Patriots Day and National Day of Service and Remembrance. Stafford County has performed a special bell-ringing ceremony each year since the September 11th terrorist attacks. This year marks the 20th anniversary of September 11th. The county will again observe the occasion with a special ceremony, but wanted to go further to remark this milestone in time. You are all invited, and please join us this Friday, September 10th at 10 a.m. right outside the front doors of the board chambers in front of the Government Center to witness and remember. And now, on to the solemn loss of life of our military in Afghanistan. If you'll all please join me in standing and bowing your heads while I read aloud the 13 names. Marine Corps Lance Corporal David Espinoza. Marine Corps Sergeant Nicole Gee. Marine Corps Staff Sergeant Darren Taylor Hoover. Army Staff Sergeant Ryan Noss. Marine Corps Corporal Hunter Lopez. Marine Corps Lance Corporal Riley McCullum. Marine Corps Lance Corporal Dylan Marola. Marine Corps Lance Corporal Kareem Nikua. Marine Corps Corporal Dagan William Tyler. Marine Corps Sergeant Johanny Rosario. Marine Corps Corporal Humberto Sanchez. Marine Corps Lance Corporal Jared Schmitz. And lastly but not least, Navy Hospital Corpsman Max Sovayak. Thank you very much for joining me in that moment of silence and reading aloud of those names. Now moving on to our proclamation today for Constitution Week, and I'm pleased to announce that I'll be turning this proclamation presentation over to Mr. Tom Cohen. Mr. Cohen?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate it. Today we mark another important moment in our history, Constitution Week. September 17th marks the 234th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States. And it amazes me to know how much this document has transformed the world and provided us with this most extraordinary country. I asked Martha Newton and Donna Sayre from the National Society Daughters of the American Revolution, Falls of the Rappahannock chapter, to please come up and join us. Institutions such as the NSDAR are crucial to upholding these traditions and opportunities for reflection. And today, as a pleasure, we have the great pleasure of honoring Constitution Week and having these excellent individuals joining us. It is amazing what our Constitution has done and the system of government that we all get to enjoy in this country. And so in honor of that and the excellent work that the DAR does, we would like to give this proclamation to the DAR and to recognize the greatness that is our Constitution. And so now I get to do all the fun whereas, so everybody can go through. Whereas the Constitution of the United States of America, the guardian of our liberties, embodies the principles of limited government in a republic dedicated to rule of law. And whereas September 17, 2021 marks the 234th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. And whereas two of America's and Stafford's most revered native sons, George Washington and George Mason, attended and had significant impacts on the Constitutional Convention of 1787. And whereas George Mason wrote the Virginia Declaration of Rights, which became the basis for the Bill of Rights, and then became the first 10 amendments of the Constitution. And whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary, and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion. And whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States designating September 17 through 23 as Constitution Week. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Stafford County Board of Supervisors on this the 7th day of September 2021 that the board encourages citizens to reaffirm the ideals of our founding fathers by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties, the Constitution of the United States of America. Would you ladies like to say anything? I have a copy of the Constitution with me if you want to read it.
Thank you. As a member of the DIR, our pillars are education, patriotism, and historic preservation. And I would strongly encourage everyone during Constitution Week to please take the time and read the Constitution. It will not take you that long. You will find out things you didn't know. You will find out things you thought you know and were incorrect about. But it's important that we preserve this document, that it is the basis of our country, and that we pass that education along correctly to the coming generation. So thank you very much for your support.
Thank you so much, Supervisor Cohen. Mr. Presley, are there any additions or deletions to the agenda today?
Yes, Madam Chair, I do have one addition, which is consent agenda item be number 17. It's community engagement, which is a proclamation to declare September 11th, 2021 as Patriot Day in Stafford County, and that's Proclamation 21-25. Under deletions, there are two deferrals that I would like to mention. These came up as a result of the absence of some of the board members we have today. The first is item number 19 on your agenda. That is to present and discuss proposed amendments to the board's bylaws and rules of procedures, and also the electronic participation in meetings policy with those two board members absent. There's a request to defer that to the next meeting. Also, item number 22, which is to consider lighting options for Onville Road between Worth Avenue and Garrison Woods Drive. That was an item requested by Supervisor Allen, and she has asked that that item be deferred until the next meeting. She hopes to be able to join us at that time. And finally, under handouts, there's for item 5, revised proposed resolution R21-328. Staff noticed an error in the way the numbers were transposed in the resolution itself. Those changes have been added to your folder there. They've also been uploaded to Civic Clerk and is available to the public.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve with those modifications? Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, please go ahead and cast your votes. Try it again. Okay, tally the votes. Oh. I saw it quickly. That motion carried 5-0, but on the screen, I'm not sure that you see that. Is that with 2 absent? Ms. McClendon, are you satisfied with that? Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Very good. Okay, now we move on to presentations by the public. This is the opportunity where the public has to come up and address the Board of Supervisors on any item that is not before the board for public hearing. You can come and talk to the board for 3 minutes. Please address your comments to the board and not to individual supervisors. When the green light comes on, your time will start. Please state your name, your address, and the district that you reside if you know it. When the yellow light comes on, you'll have 60 seconds remaining. Since there are a lot of people here today, when the red light comes on, I will hold firm and interrupt you, so please conclude your comments when the red light starts blinking. I do have a couple of speaker cards, so I'm going to go ahead and call up the first speaker, Miss Leah Watson.
My brakes work. Hey. Good afternoon. My name is Leah Watson. I live at 30 Naomi Road in the Washington District. I am speaking to you about an item that you'll be voting on, which is the Ferry Farm Trail alignment for Phase 6. I am hoping that you all received the email that I sent to Mr. Oziak with some background information documenting our concerns. That was not in the read-ahead that was published, and I contacted my supervisor this weekend to try to resolve that. So hopefully you've gotten that and had a chance to look at that. Our concerns about the Phase 6 trail alignment go back almost a decade and have been well documented. I don't know if any of you have actually walked the proposed part of the trail that would go along the non-maintained portion of Dairy Lane. It was underwater 2 days ago. It floods completely numerous times a year when the rains are heavy. It hasn't been maintained for decades, and the bridge there is washed out. So anything that would put a trail, a bike trail and a walking trail along there would require, I think, more expenditures and more regular maintenance than has been anticipated and planned for. Secondarily, it's often mentioned the impact that this would have on the townhomes. We own the property on both sides of that road all the way to the river. We purchased that for our privacy. And you're putting the trail back there along the Dairy Lane would deny us access to over 16 acres of our land. We would have no way to approach that part of our property using any kind of vehicle, which we often have to do in order to pull out trash and remnants of campsites and homeless encampments on our land. Putting a trail there would make it easier for those people to get access to our land. So one of the enclosures that I provided you gave you a commitment from the county to give us access along Phase 5 on the upper portion so that we would continue to have a wider lane that we could use to approach. Mr. Janney, who has proffered to allow that trail to go along his land, would be required to have a sidewalk anyway in order to proceed with his development. We are opposed for privacy reasons, for practicality reasons, and would ask that the board not put the trail along the abandoned Dairy Lane and allow it to go along Naomi. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Excuse me while I do a three-point turn.
There you go. Do you have a license for that?
I do. It's just temporary, however. There's a man with a badge in the back. I think.
Okay, Miss Dana Brown.
Hi, I'm Dana Brown. I live in the Rock Hill District at 41 St. William's Way, and my comments are about our schools. And while they're not CRT related, they speak more to a political bias that might be in our schools. And since school officials are here, I thought maybe you could ask them if they think a teaching bias might exist. My high school student was from the infamous class of 2020, one of the first classes to go to online learning. This gave me a new opportunity to see what was going on in the classroom. My daughter received some troubling assignments in her 12th grade dual enrollment English class. That's with Germana. My first question to the teacher was, do you make the assignments or does Germana? She acknowledged that she did. I expressed my concern with several current writing assignments she'd given, all of which the kids were to analyze and do a write-up. The first one was about an article in the Atlantic called "The Coronavirus is a Disaster for Feminism." I read it myself, and I felt not only did it contain misinformation, it also denigrated women and belittled families that were lucky enough to have a stay-at-home mom. We have a lot of that in Stafford. Some examples from that, the article was talking about who was going to stay home. Quote, "But one of the most striking effects of the coronavirus will be to send many couples back to the 1950s. Across the world, women's independence will be a silent victim of the pandemic." So to me, this implied women aren't independent if they stay home with their kids. I was fortunate enough to quit my job and be a stay-at-home mom when my kids were born. My husband can definitely vouch for my independence. Then it went on to say, it says, "Purely as a physical illness, the coronavirus appears to affect women less severely." Really? Let's tell that to all the women that died. Then she went on, she assigned 3 speeches, all from one political point of view. I asked her if she could, add some other things in there to make it a little more, balanced. And after several phone calls and email exchanges, the teacher finally offered to give my daughter an alternate assignment. She chose technology. The following week, she actually included a speech from the different political party. So all I ask is just, we need to have, teaching in the schools without bias. That's all. No matter what party you're from. So let's ask the schools about that. If I had more time, I could tell you a lot more stories. CGS was really bad about that, but I'm out of time. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Mr. Glenn Cobb is next.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Madam Chairman. My name is Glenn Cobb. My address is 13880 Dulles Corner Lane in Herndon, Virginia. I'm with Vulcan Materials Company, so our local address is 100 Vulcan Quarry Lane. And as most of you know, we've been working for well over a year, close to a year and a half now, on an application for some rezoning and a CUP application. And I'm here today on behalf of our 60-plus employees of Stafford County to thank you for your efforts so far. Thank you for the staff efforts so far. We think we've heard our neighbors, we've heard staff, and we think we've brought the application a long way. Our public hearing will be coming up with you fairly soon, so we would like to invite you to come out and tour the facility. Obviously, seeing it firsthand is very different than looking at it on a piece of paper. So we would love to have you come out, talk with you about our application, and provide any answers to questions that we might be able to. So thank you for that, and I'll yield back my 2 minutes.
Very good. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, Mr. Cobb. Lorraine, and I hope I say your last name right, Zerbinski.
You did that last time. Members of the board, good afternoon. My name is Lorraine Zerbinski. I live at 49 Hunton Drive. I'm speaking against VDOT's bike and pedestrian upgrade project for Leland Road, specifically for the .7 section of path that runs along Leland Station, costing $2.8 million. To be clear, I approve of adding a path on the section of Leland Road toward Deacon where there isn't a safe way to walk. I do not support VDOT's plan involving our .7-mile section of existing path, ripping it out, doubling its width, and tearing down our trees and landscaping. Doing all this just to connect it to the East Coast Greenway isn't beneficial to our community, especially when the interconnector trail proposal west of I-95 would be a better proposed location for the East Coast Greenway Trail. It would be a shorter and safer route and a smarter use of taxpayer dollars. The residents at Leland Station were not adequately informed about the project. Stafford County created a vague county-wide survey that got 538 responses, 94 of them in the entire 22405 zip code. There are 158,998 people in Stafford County, 31,747 in our zip code alone. Think about that, allowing 538 people decide the fate for all of us. It should never have been considered a valid survey. VDOT doesn't have data on how many on Leland Road use the VRE, nor do they have any data on how many people on Leland Road would switch to bike or walk to the VRE if this project goes through. This entire project is based on one citizen request back in 2010 and a vague survey, which has an embarrassing amount of responses. There's no noise study. I've yet to see an environmental study. Even the Stafford County Bike and Pedestrians Facilities Packet states walking is the largest means of alternative transportation, and that bike use hasn't risen. Why should we be forced to give up an area that's already well-loved? Studies have shown when you walk amongst trees, you experience less anxiety, hostility, fatigue, and depression as compared to walking in an urban setting. Why would we want to double the amount of asphalt? Essentially removing our natural setting and creating an urban environment. All of this based on an assumption that if you build it, they will come. There's no data to support the need. There is a need for a path where nothing currently is. Put the money there. Don't waste our time and money on fixing something that ain't broke. While we appreciate VDOT looking into other options, we feel we must continue pressing the issue. It's our community after all. Let's encourage VDOT to accept one of our compromises, to keep the path on the east side of Leland Road, or to only add a path where there is nothing and leave our section alone. Let's find a way where Leland Station isn't forced into becoming an austere urban neighborhood that none of us want. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Donna Oliver.
Hello.
And feel free to move the mic down a little bit so it's closer so we can pick. There you go. Very
Hello?
good. Perfect.
All right, Donna Oliver. I live at 74 Ironwood Road in the George Washington District. I'm here because I saw on your website a couple of letters from a homeowner in the George Washington Foundation. They were raising concerns about the Ferry Farm Belmont Trail extension, and that abandonment is a possibility for that final leg of the trail. I moved to North Ferry Farm in 1984, lived there for 20 years. I moved 4 miles away, but I'm still in South Stafford. While I was in North Ferry Farm, there was plans for the trail. That's the trails for the plan for the trails began then. I've been waiting a long time for that final leg. I saw the letters of concern and the abandonment option, and I want to let you know that ending the trail at Ferry Farm is important to the Stafford County residents. The concerns in those 2 letters seem very solvable. Kenmore Park, close by, has woods, has pickleball and tennis courts, a tot lot, the dog park and the trail are close by, within a stone's throw, and I go there almost daily to play pickleball. I said there's no issues with vagrants, homeless, trash, crime. People of all ages are using the facilities. Resident-only parking signs help with parking concerns, and controls to shut off the lights and to lock the bathrooms help with the vagrants. Their property values do not go down because they have a high walkability factor for their homes. Even Stafford home sellers that are near the trail advertise the trail because it helps attract buyers. I walk the trail at least weekly, and there's no issues with the safety or trespassers. This includes areas from the dock woods around Brook Park, under the overpass at Amy's Cafe, the city side where there are lots of homes along the trail. Stafford's Chatham and Belmont both lock their gates, so do the parks that are on the trail. People park at these locations, and they are aware of the closing and opening times, and they plan their walks accordingly. And with respect to easements, property owners are made aware of easements when they purchase their property. We hope no changes are made, but we know that easements can be seized upon. VDOT has the easement and is within its right to improve it for the public good. The last phase of the trail shouldn't be done halfway and end at Cool Springs Road. It's a dangerous intersection for pedestrians. It's a large, high-volume intersection, and there'll be negative effects with increased pedestrian crossings. Please end the trail at the originally planned endpoint at Ferry Farm. Ending it at Chatham not only shortens the trail length for active users, it will send Stafford dollars to downtown Fredericksburg and other Stafford residents. I go downtown after playing pickleball, eat with friends. Give me and other Stafford residents an option at the old bottom dollar shopping center to have shops and other eateries, and at the George Washington's Ferry Farm Visitor Center.
Thank you. Thank you. Your time has
All right.
expired, sorry.
Thank you for listening and appreciate your service to
Thank you.
Stafford County.
Okay, next speaker is Mr. David Fouth.
Good afternoon. My name is David Fout. I live at 18 Antietam Loop in the Aquia District, and I'm here to talk about two items related to the Stafford County Public Schools on today's agenda. As a caveat, I am running for Stafford County School Board Representative in Aquia District, but that does not impact my statements today. The first one is R21-325, the Joint Investigation of Pupil Transportation Issues. And if you do decide to go forward with that, I hope it's a solution-focused and collaborative effort with the Stafford County Public Schools. Going back and reading the Stafford County School Board October 13th, 2020 meetings where the last transportation audit was presented with findings and recommendations, it seems to me that a couple emails, phone call, it would not be difficult to evaluate, did the school board authorize Dr. Kisner and staff to implement the recommendations? What happened? Did anything actually get done with those recommendations? Or did we pay for another study to be put on a shelf and not go anywhere? As a taxpayer, I personally do not want us to do another study where we don't have any deadlines, no implementation strategy, and it ends up on a shelf, and 2 years from now, in 2022 or 2023, we have the same problems and we pull that study out. If you do go ahead with the study, please make it solution-focused. Please make it implementable, and let's have a reasonable time frame with some deadlines that can be implemented. I've also volunteered to be a part of the Stafford County Public School Ad Hoc Transportation Committee. I received a thank you for volunteering with no further follow-up. So, with regard to R21-326, the bus driver recruitment and retention, driver payroll, I went through your packet, and it's really not clear to me as a taxpayer whether the new proposed payroll schedule has been implemented, will be implemented, or is proposed. I think it's around page 580 if you're following along at home or want to look elsewhere. As a project manager, it seems to me that, if this does get implemented, you should know as a Board of Supervisors what this out year 3 or 4 or 5 year payroll impact will be. I looked at the FY22 transportation budget. $10 million was the budget line item. The pay increases are in the 22 to 33% pay raise, so we're asking for another $2 to $3 million each year for transportation budget. So again, if the school board is going forward and the Board of Supervisors approves it, I hope you understand that 4 to 5 years, that's going to be an additional $2 to $3 million each year, with an unknown of how many more bus drivers, buses that we will need for high school number 6. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, those are all the speaker cards that I have. So now I'm going to open it up to anybody who's here who didn't pre-file a speaker card. If you see somebody standing up to come down. And then if somebody else wants to get in line behind this gentleman after he gets up to the podium, it'll help keep things moving a little bit quicker.
Good afternoon. I'm here to talk about the
Can you
proposed.
please state your name and address?
Matthew Gordon, 812 Shaw Court. About the proposed trail going through Dairy Lane. The only thing that I'm not opposed to the trail itself. It's the part where it comes not just approaching or on the edge of our land, but actually through it. And then when it exits, it goes right in front of where our kids play. We have a swing set down there where they all hang out. And I think from the exposure could add possible safety risks to the children of our neighborhood. And then the lane closure, when it goes down, when they're proposing that come down to the tunnel, there's 2 entrances to that tunnel. They're talking about shutting one completely down to let foot traffic go through there and impeding all the cars coming through. That's really all I had to say. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Gina McVicker. I live in the Falmouth District at 7 Rixey Court in the Leland Station community. I'm here this afternoon to ask you to listen to the residents of more than 775 homes in your county. I didn't just come to complain about a problem. You've heard all the reasons why the residents of Leland Station do not support VDOT's Route 626 Leland Road Bicycle and Pedestrian Upgrades project. I'm asking for your support in approving a revision to the current project plan. VDOT is making plans to implement the June 4th, 2019 Stafford Bicycle and Pedestrian Facilities Plan that was presented to you, the Board of Supervisors, and received a majority vote in favor of on September 3rd, 2019. I speak for hundreds of residents when I say we do not agree with VDOT's current plan to take possession of a suitable paved path within the boundaries of Leland Station in order to construct a shared use path along 1.2 miles of Leland Road. In fact, I recently met with the VDOT team responsible for executing part of this countywide plan and proposed a viable compromise I'm asking you to support too. The June 2019 Stafford Bicycle and Pedestrian Facilities Plan states citizen engagement began in August 2018 with an online survey and 2 public workshops to share draft recommendations and gather input. The survey was posted on August 14th and remained open through September 9th and received a total of 538 responses. 94 of the 538 are from zip code 22405, where Leland Station resides. There are 31,747 people living in 22405. In Stafford County as a whole, nearly 160,000. $2.8 million of taxpayer money is being allocated to a project that was initiated from one citizen request in 2010 and received the input of just 0.3% of the county's population in zip code 22405. How is that a justifiable use of taxpayer funds? The findings of this survey are in the comprehensive plan you approved, but I want to bring just a couple to your attention. When asked what factors discourage cycling or walking, over 25% expressed a lack of scenic and nature routes as a factor. The current plan includes the removal of over 400 mature trees and landscaping along Leland Station's current path to make room for a 10-foot wide shared use path. A greater percentage of respondents indicated they do not ride a bike than those who walk. Additional data from other sources in the plan supports walkers. I understand the desire to create a pedestrian and bicycle-friendly environment in Stafford County. I'd like that too. However, I do not wish to have it at the expense of VDOT's current plan along Leland Road. Homeowners will pay a high price not only in tax dollars, but in loss of property value, loss of privacy, loss of traffic noise buffer, loss of safety. I approve of VDOT constructing a safe path along Leland Road between the intersections of Deacon and Walnut Farms Parkway, where one does not currently exist. That section of road is a safety concern for pedestrians. I often see them dodging cars while walking in an area that does not even have so much as a shoulder. It's also where a minor was struck by a car just a few weeks ago while trying to catch a ride to school. I approve and plead for a crosswalk across Leland Road to connect the east and west sides of Leland
Thank you.
Station.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker?
My name is Pam Sable. I live at 1009 Shaw Court in the Chatham Landing area. And I'm here to talk about the Belmont Trail. It has been going on for almost 15, 20 years of it wanting to be put to go to Ferry Farm. If I'm incorrect, Ferry Farm doesn't want it ending at their property. If it comes across the dead-end road, what used to be Route 3, which is Dairy Lane, it's going to take up our whole road. There is not enough space to accommodate an 8-foot wide or 10-foot wide bike path. It would be right up against our parking lot by our tot lot. Yes, the road floods quite a bit. The road on Naomi is very narrow. If they're going to close down one side of the tunnel, there's no clear vision for traffic on the other side. I don't foresee them putting in a stoplight for the bike path. It would be more feasible to have it up on Route 3, to go through the old Bottom Dollar Food Lion parking lot, to join up with Ferry Farm, Boyhood Home, because they're stoplights. It would be the safest route. It would keep the pedestrian traffic and vagrants away from our area. It is just not, it's not a good plan. So you lose, $160,000 by backing out of the last leg of it. but it saved you guys over $3 million in building that up. And it goes nowhere. It ends. It's not going to join up with anywhere except for up on Route 3, because it can't go anywhere else. So I'm against it. If to come down Dairy Lane, maybe it could go Naomi or Route 3, but I don't see either one of them as a viable option either. But thank you.
Thank you.
And if our pay raise goes through on being a bus driver, I'm all for it.
Hey, good afternoon. My name is David Scott. I live at Shepherd's Hook Way, 18 Shepherd's Hook Way in the Heartwood District. I'm the Vice President of the Community of Associations for Colonial Forge. Just wanted to come up, bring an issue that I've already been talking to Mr. Snellings about. Woodcutters next to Colonial Forge. We have an issue currently of residents or parents of the students picking their kids up in our neighborhood. They're using our neighborhood as turnaround points, pickup points. There's a footpath between the tennis courts and Woodcutters itself that they use. They don't go to the courthouse crosswalk. They cross where they want. So I'm using this opportunity to pile on our friends at Vdot and ask for a crosswalk to be put in at Cut Stone and Woodcutters itself with additional signage. Just knowing human nature, they don't go where you want them to go. They go where they're going to go. So they cross. We have parents using the turning lanes as pickup points in the middle of Woodcutters and using the Sheriff's Department recent ticket that they posted on Facebook page of somebody doing 90 and a 35. Woodcutters is a high-speed road. It wasn't. It was intended by VDOT in the long-term county plan to be a high-speed road, but kids drive what they drive. With it getting into the darker months, we're an active community. We have people out walking before and after work when it's dark. So that decreases drivers' visibility, especially if they're doing high rates of speed through our neighborhood. So we're asking the board's support in pushing VDOT to install school zone signs, which we don't even have on Woodcutters, to lower the speed. Just some kind of traffic control measures to help slow people down and keep the kids at the school safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Arthur Bailey. My address is 2 Venice Court. I'm from the Leland Road, about the Leland Road project. I live right on the corner. My backyard butts up to Leland Road. I sit out there most mornings with my grandbaby and let her watch the traffic because she likes to watch the traffic go by. I see very few people walk by my house or walk down that trail. I see a few people try to ride the bike or whatever, but I don't see that many people that would want a big trail to take part of my yard. I'm looking at the map that shows the proposed trail. It's going to come right through my shed and half of my deck. That's going to take all of my yard just about. Why would you do that to a person? Just to have, satisfy a few. I don't think that's right for the county. And I ask you not to do that. Thank you for my time.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having all of us here and hearing us. Thank you, Madam Chairperson. My name is Sue Partakey. I live at 106 Shaw Court, which is in the Chatham Landing townhomes that are under discussion today. I sent each of you a fairly lengthy email earlier in the week, and I hope you've had a chance to review it or will soon. I also found a shorter version of some of the points that we had all wanted to make about the Ferry Farm Trail. We're not against trails. We love the trail. A lot of people in our community actually use the existing trail. Our biggest concerns are about safety and the fact that we are somewhat remote and isolated. We're very concerned about security. Chatham Landing isn't a very secluded location. Most people don't even know the community exists. We don't have regular police patrols or even a steady stream of traffic passing by that might deter crime. This trail will bring people into a community that currently has an almost non-existent crime rate. In fact, trail users will pass now within yards of my back door. What steps does the county have planned to address security? Is there a budget increase plan for police patrols? Who'll be responsible or liable for anything that happens on the trail? Is it Stafford County, National Parks, VDOT? Who do we call if there are problems? Does the county have research to show how many people will be likely to be using the trail at various times of the day? Another concern, as I mentioned, is safety. There have been a number of incidents that have been described over this section of Old Kings Highway. We've had trouble with ATVs in the woods, carving out paths that are wide enough for trucks to drive through. At one point, when the bridge was still up, I had to call the sheriff's department when 2 SUVs drove through the woods and got stuck in the creek. Since the existing bridge is half gone and the rest is crumbling, we now have a gate. We used to have a gate across the road where it became Dairy Lane. That didn't work. Someone stole it for the metal. So we have, I mean, we have homeless. We've sort of learned to live with that. When the bridge went down, was washed out, that cut off access to our neighborhood for most of the homeless. So that helped a little bit. Building a bridge there again will bring access to them again. Let's see. Other concerns that we've had, are there measures to keep vehicles off the path? It seems like there's going to be some entrance points. I don't know if it's just going to be posts. Bigger vehicles like ATVs, I don't mean, like trucks. Again, there's an access road off the path. It's pretty much overgrown now, but it does lead directly to my back door and the back doors of my 3 neighbors. Again, it floods. Our biggest concern is maintenance. One of our biggest concerns is maintenance. So, thank you.
Okay, next speaker.
Good afternoon, Jackson Cotmire, 2001 Brook Road, the Quiet District. I'd like to bring to your attention a problem that's growing in the county with livestock fowl on A1. Currently, the regulation from the 019-21 states that there has to be a conservation plan executed for any property under 2 acres. Your new proposal that you'll probably be discussing later on today and voting on is that any A2 has to have more than 3 acres in order to have livestock, fowl, or poultry. Where I live, my neighbor has 1.534 acres. He currently has 25 roosters, 42 chickens, and 18 rabbits, which constantly come into my yard. I don't know if you've ever lived next to roosters. His chicken coop is 65 feet from my foundation. That's my wake-up call every morning at 5:15. So inside my home with the windows closed, I'm trapped. I can't enjoy my quality of life outside. So I'm asking the board, please revisit the A1. Spotsylvania County back in 2012 set up a matrix. 5 acres or less, you can only have 6 chickens on your property. The county has no such matrix. Animal Control 3 years ago presented a matrix on acreage and it was turned down. Please revisit that. As the county continues to grow, and right now, A1 property and subdivisions are protected by their homeowners associations. If they go away, I'm sure somebody that has a $100,000 or $750,000 home does not want 20 cows less than 40 feet from their property. It's a big problem. It's a growing problem. I've talked with numerous residents that have moved out of the county because of this problem. We can't afford to lose revenue. We don't want to lose the tax dollars. And if we don't get a control on this, it's going to become more and more of a problem. So I'm asking you, please revisit the A1 language, put some more matrix in there and quantitative measures that people understand what they can and cannot have. And if you're going to have a conservation study required, I didn't even know this until Mr. Harvey sent it to me. I'm sure my neighbor doesn't know about it. Don't put something in the regulations that you can't enforce or won't enforce. It just causes a big frustration for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Thank you for allowing us to speak today. I'm Amanda Moon. I reside at 207 Shaw Court, and we are in the George Washington District. And I wanted to speak about the trail. And you're going to hear a lot about the trail, but one of the things that is outstanding for our neighborhood is that we are a very small neighborhood. We have no sidewalks. We are very remote. The Dairy Lane that they're talking about is, like you said, washed out half of the time. Part of the problem is that to put that trail in, that's going to put it right next to our parking lot, right next to our tot lot, and we are not equipped to be able to keep people who are going to walk down that trail and look at that lot and look at that tot lot and feel like that's a park. And we don't have the ability to patrol or police or, take care of that, and signs are not going to keep people out if they feel like that's a parking place or a playground. We've been advised by our HOA management company that we would expect to see an increase in our liability insurance, not to mention the HOA liability if people decide to come onto the property and walk through to the river. When you walk from one end of our development to the other, which is a very short walk, we have access to the river. And as soon as people find out that they can park there, play there, and have access to the river, we will no longer have a neighborhood. So we are very pro-development in that area, and you've seen me here before when we talked with Mr. Janney, and we came to an agreement with him about putting the trail on Naomi, which he's willing to pay for, which keeps it from Dairy Lane, which you're going to have to put a new bridge across Dairy Lane. You still have to figure out what to do with the railroad bridge. You still have to figure out, how are we going to get people to Ferry Farm? There's a lot of things, a lot of loose ends on this. And, the other thing is it's $750,000 for less than half a mile. Is this really a good use of our tax dollar? Half of that, half a mile, has you walking past such really exciting things as the water treatment plant and an old storage unit facility. So I'm not really sure that that's a really exciting thing to, for people to want to add that half a mile trot to. And then they're going to get up there and it's going to dead end, because until you figure out what else to do with the rest of the trail, that going under a graffiti-covered bridge is just not something that is really going to be applicable for most people. And it really does disturb a neighborhood that has been there. We've been there 20-some years. We are very small. We're, again, like I said, we're very active. But it seems like the problems with this route have not been solved. And I appreciate you. I also, just one more thing. I have a list of people who could not be here because of the time today.
Thank you.
All right.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Danielle Cortez. I live at 19 Hidden Springs Lane in the Aquia District. I'm speaking as a private citizen, not a member of any board or commission that I may serve on. About 30 years ago, the Cortez family led an initiative, 14,000 votes, to change the form of representation at the school board from an appointed school board to an elected school board. I'm representing 14,000 voters, and sometimes I wonder if we made a mistake. They're not representing us responsibly when they try to promote or think about possibly promoting an oppressed mentality that's being promoted by critical race theory. You're going to have a discussion about that today. And I want to know unequivocally, you have Dr. Jones here, that he should answer without equivocation any and every one of your questions. If he has proposed that he answer them only in writing, that is irresponsible. The public has a right to know. In Fairfax County, $34,000 for 55 hours of CRT coaching on white individualism or color group collectivism, grievance studies, social equity programs, the NEA promoting critical race theory, or attempting to rewrite history. The Cortez family promoted and developed Univision, a company that embraced unity for all people. We have assimilated. We are not supposed to be dividing our students based on melanin in their skin. This is about unity, not divisiveness. We have had a black president, a woman Secretary of State, a Hispanic Secretary of the Navy, my friend, Carlos del Toro. We have advanced. Critical race theory will take us back, and this must be stopped. I want to commend the board for their leadership calling Dr. Jones here. All questions must be answered. We must restrict any funding that goes to teach any aspect of grievance studies, social equities, that promotes divisiveness and looking at a person's skin color. My 9-year-old granddaughter that's half white must not be made to feel a victim. She has done nothing. We are promoting assimilation. All our veterans that you honored earlier, Madam Chairman, are promoting and fought for equality. And thank you for that. One last point. Several years ago, the chairman of this board disrespected every Hispanic in Stafford County by not advancing Hispanic Heritage Month. You're going to do that responsibly. Thanks to Meg Bunke, who showed leadership and apologized and made sure it was on the schedule. That man's name was Paul Mildy. If you allow him to come represent us again on the board, you are being held culpable when he has not adequately atoned. And I thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Okay, I don't see anybody else in line. Mr. Cortez doesn't bite, no.
But I am a love slave.
Good evening. Good afternoon. I'm Elaine Callender, 622 Lancaster Street. And I came to talk about trees. There's been some other talk about trees. The thing that brought me in was the destruction of trees around the new courthouse interchange. Seems to me you can have new development without stripping all the trees. More buffering needs to be required. We need to max out whatever the state allows, and if the state doesn't allow enough tree protection, we need to go to the state and ask them to make some changes. What is happening right now around the new courthouse interchange is extremely disturbing, not just for the trees, but for us human beings who witness the degradation of the environment. A community that preserves its natural tree cover distinguishes itself from the other developing communities that simply strip their trees and give the developers carte blanche. The aesthetics of a community as well as the environmental integrity are important and should be valued by Stafford County. Here are important contributions that trees make to our quality of life. They increase property values, clean the air, slow water runoff, prevent soil erosion, help buffer noise pollution, cool our home streets and communities, save us money on energy costs, and trees are beautiful and enhance our living environment. Should the destruction of tree cover be unavoidable, remediation should not just require replanting or trade-offs of other natural areas, but a requirement that solar collectors be placed on buildings where practicable, such as on those huge new warehouses going in here in the county. Stafford should set an example of how to build sustainably. If there is a new development where the trees have been removed prior to construction, then there should be no excuse not to install solar collectors on the new buildings. I'm thinking about near my own home in Clearview Heights, where there's a whole area totally stripped of trees because of some by right development. I couldn't believe that they had to take all of those trees down. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else care to speak? Okay, seeing no one stepping forward, I'm going to move on. Okay. Reports by board members. Ms. Giles.
Mr. Cohen.
Differ.
Ms. Lamb.
Thank you very much. A couple comments I want to make real quickly. Want to welcome the new 4 graduates that we have from into the Stafford County Sheriff's Department. I was able to attend their graduation last week. It was so exciting to see 4 choose Stafford County. A friend of mine was actually the 5th, and I'm going to disparage him forever for choosing Fredericksburg. I'm going to convince him that he needs to move here. But anyway, it was a great ceremony, and I really encourage anyone to give back to your community any way that you can, and it's so refreshing to see our young people make such a choice. I also attended a PRTC meeting, and PRCC, sorry, that's the Potomac Rappahannock Transportation Commission, for those that don't know. Why that matters is because today when we talk about what we're going to do with this trail, then there is a project that you guys may not be following that's bringing in that third rail into Virginia. Well, guess what? The third rail for all of the VRE and CSX lines is going to be going through these areas. And so there are planned improvements within the next few years that has an impact on some of these things. So some of this information may be new to you. It's all emerging because it's currently under design, but I just wanted to put that out to you so you can start following that project through DRPT or VDOT. Thank you very much, Madam Chairman.
Mr. Snellings.
Thank you, Ms. Jai. I want to thank the chairman for reading those names of the 13 that died as a veteran. The Speaker of the House of Representatives refused to have that done. Shame on her. What a disgrace. These 13 men and women were heroes. They deserve all the recognition we can give them. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Ms. Baumke.
Thank you, Supervisor Snellings, for stating that. I had goosebumps, as I'm sure many of you did in the audience as each name was read. My comments today, I want to update you on 3 different items. We have a GWRC meeting last week, and we have 5 candidates for the executive director position. So we will be on a Zoom call this Wednesday. Hopefully I'll be bringing information back to you at the next board meeting. The R board, that is our landfill board. I want to let you know that we have a public hearing coming up on November 17th. We only meet quarterly, and this public hearing will be important to many people out there regarding the cost of trailers going into the landfill. Currently, an 8-foot trailer is equal to $5 when you go in the landfill. We are proposing then for an 8-foot to 14-foot be $10, which currently it's $20. Anything now over 14 feet and oversized loads that are not trailers will be $20. Anyway, if you would like to weigh in on this, the public hearing is November 17th. If you're not able to attend the public hearing, because it is during the day, you may certainly email your comments either to me or Ms. Lamb. We're both on the R board, or you could send it to the county administrator or the clerk of the board. I also want to let you know our R board director is retiring and moving to North Carolina to be closer to family. He has done a phenomenal job for the last 2.5 years. He has, I can't tell you, and I told him, if you ever need a recommendation, he has really put us on the map and doing things. We've always kind of cobbled things together using some staff to help with operating the landfill, and we've done a lot of new technology items, and he's done a phenomenal job. If you're interested in that job, we will be taking applications for that. And lastly, I would like to let you know that on October 5th, we had a few people from Leland Station speak regarding the trail there. It's too bad we can't take the money from Leland Trail from the VDOT and put it on something else. But anyway, VDOT, the information that we have from them, and I have communicated this out to many of you here through your HOA, is that they are coming to our Stafford County's October 5th infrastructure meeting. We meet up in the ABC room, and it will either be at noon or 1:30. Pardon?
I'm sorry, it'll be in here only
Oh,
because
it's
of
gonna
the
be in
early
here?
voting.
Oh, okay, I take that back. Because of early voting, it will be in the board chambers. So, and I told Lorraine and Gina that I would let them know the exact time, either noon or 1:30. And at that point in time, VDOT will be unveiling what their new proposed idea is. We don't know anything at this point in time. Remember, this was a VDOT project. Now they're coming to us, and I have a feeling they're coming to us because they need some money, but I'm not sure. Anyway, that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Ms. Fanucci.
I'm going to defer. All right, so that takes care of everybody on the board. Report of the county attorney.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have no report at this time.
Report of the county administrator.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have a few items. For your information, you have the Stafford County 2040 and other priorities update, which we provide to you each month. I will note, just as a highlight of that, under 7.6, organizational excellence, that item was for the county to achieve its AAA bond rating, which of course we did a few years back. Moody's has updated their rating and just maintained our AAA with Moody's and gave us a stable outlook. So that just shows that we're staying on the right course, and even throughout the pandemic and the things we've had to do, they support the good work that we're doing here. Also, for information, is the monthly expenditure listing of those expenditures over $100,000 for your information. The rest of my time, I'm going to turn over to some staff members and from a partner agency to provide you with some updates. The first is the capital projects quarterly update, and that will be presented by the Assistant Director of Capital Construction, Ms. Kathy Fox.
Good afternoon. I'm here to present to you the fourth quarter report. I'm going to go through the slides, but I'm not going to read them word for word. I'll give you the highlights. If you have any questions, please ask. All righty. And let's see if I can get this done right. First of which is Berea Church Road safety improvements. Right-of-way acquisition phase is 90% complete. This is also a public hearing this evening. It's your board item 31 for a condemnation of the Scott and Buchanan. Second one is Route 1, 630 Courthouse Road intersection improvements. Right-of-way acquisition phase is 90% complete. This evening, you have 4 properties on your agenda, number 29. Next one is Route 1 and Telegraph Road, Woodstock Lane intersection improvements. Design phase is 90% complete. Right-of-way acquisition phase is 25% complete. Right-of-way phase is underway, and we've reached agreement with 5 of the 11 properties impacted. Public hearings are again tonight, item number 30. Flatford Road sidewalk project. Design phase is 100% complete. Right-of-way acquisition phase is 95% complete. Utility relocation has been completed except for Dominion Power, which is anticipated to start this fall. Construction advertisement is also anticipated to start as early as October of this year. Belmont Ferry Farm Phase 6, I believe I can skip that one because we had it in the infrastructure this afternoon, and I believe Alex is going to discuss it again later this afternoon as well. Brook Road, emergency access road, design is 30% complete. VDOT has installed site cameras, remedial work performed at Accokeek Creek by state and federal agencies. Preliminary access road layout has been provided to impacted landowners and posted on the county's website.
Engineers working to identify necessary right-of-way that is located outside the dedicated right-of-way easements, and right-of-way acquisitions is anticipated to begin fall of this year. Lynnhaven Lane Site Distance Project. Construction bids have been received. The relocation of the fence line and removal of vegetation from the site easement have been completed. Received bids at approximately 127 linear feet of retaining wall on August 16th. All bids were in excess of the budget. As of the date of the preparation of this report, additional funding sources are being reviewed. Lynnhaven Lane Roadway Improvement Project. Right-of-way acquisition phase is 20% complete. This is part of Vdot Stafford SSYP program, working to develop the plats for the land acquisition and addressing challenges with land acquisition on property near intersection with Courthouse Road. Claiborne Run, Parallel Force Main, Phase 1B. Final design is 100% complete. Easement acquisition is 95% complete. Environmental permits have been acquired, and finalizing responses to VDOT comments in preparation of bidding in the fall of this year. Falls Run Force Main. Final design is 20% complete. Design alignment concept is finalized. Will be subject to regulatory and agency approvals. Received response from the National Park Service with guidance on their permitting process, and we're moving forward with the design to address their requirements and obtain permits to cross their property. Falls Run Gravity Interceptor Sewer Phase 2. Design is 100% complete. Property acquisition is 25% complete. Right-of-way easement acquisition has begun. Environmental permitting is underway. Anticipate early 2022 construction advertisement, which was delayed due to the property acquisition. Lower Accokeek Gravity Force Main and Pump Station. Construction is 100% complete, and punch list is 50% complete. Falls Run Wastewater Treatment Plant Facility and regulatory upgrades. Final design is 60% complete. County reviewed the 60% plans and provided comments to engineers working towards the 90% plans currently. We applied for the grant funding through the Water Quality Improvement Fund, and will research additional funding sources through possible state and federal funding through the ARPA and the infrastructure bill. The 342 pressure zone, final design is 100% complete. Easement acquisition is underway. We're probably about 25% complete with that. Environmental permits are have been acquired. VDOT comments addressed and resubmitted, and construction to be coordinated with Eon Road elevated water tank, storage tank at the same time. 342 pressure zone upgrades. Preliminary design hasn't started yet. Scoping meeting with the engineers have been completed, and the task order for preliminary alignment study currently is in approval process. 342 pressure zone upgrades, Eon Road elevated water storage tank. Final design is 100%. Planning department comments have been addressed. Permit application submitted to VDOT, to Virginia Department of Health addressing final comments. Tank project is scheduled to coincide with the completion of a 34206, the waterline project. And bidding schedule is expected to happen between this month or next. Lake Carroll Dam improvements. Construction bid package is prepared as in preparation for rebid. Projected advertisement for construction And it was, the bids came in May of '21, and the bids received was significantly higher than the budget. The budget is $789,000 roughly, and the bids are $1.7 million. Project will be rebid in September with revisions to partially lower the costs, potentially lower the costs, I'm sorry. If bids continue to be higher than current budget, staff will seek further direction from the board. Lake Arrowhead Dam, Upper Dam improvements. Property acquisition phase, we're 50% complete. County legal staff and project staff continue to work on property acquisition. Bid advertisement to be determined depending on that acquisition. And maintenance work on the lower level drain valve and outfall pipe anticipated to be done in late '21. And that concludes my report. If there's any questions I might be able to answer.
Any questions by fellow board members? No?
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sounds like you're off the hook. Thank you very much.
Thank
Mr. Presley?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next, we have the Vdot Report, which will be provided, sorry,
Kyle Bates.
Kyle Bates.
All right. Excuse me. Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, members of the board, County Administrator, thank you all for having me. I've heard VDOT a lot over the last 30, 45 minutes, so I'm going to do my best to address some of those things as I go through. I'm
Really
hoping that-
quickly, do you need security on your way
No,
back
no,
to the
no,
car?
no. I'll do my best to address some of those as we go through some of those things we're actively working through. So I'll just go ahead and get started here. So the first project that I've got here is the I-95 southbound Rappahannock River Crossing project, which if you ride out there along 95 on the southbound side, you will see the bridge right in the middle of the existing two bridges. We are nearing the end of that project, which is fantastic. Some of those new lanes are going to be opening as soon as next month in October. There are going to be some lane shifts throughout the end of the year until we can get the bridge to full capacity. Obviously, anytime you're working on 95, there's a lot of traffic that you're going to have to direct in many, many different locations. So good things coming there. As far as the next project is kind of the sister project here is the northbound crossing. We are currently working on that. That project has begun, and we are on target for on-time delivery in spring of 2024. This is we'll do essentially the same thing that the southbound project is doing, which will take that local traffic from Route 17 to Route 3, and those lanes that are coming from a northbound perspective will be able to separate from the general purpose lanes. We also have the FredX. This contract delivery date is in late 2022, and as a reminder, I do want to let everybody know we are closing that American Legion Bridge, which I know we've talked about on a few occasions now. That is scheduled to be closed in January of 2022 and will be closed for 9 months. As we do with all of those projects, we're going to be putting out press releases and getting out there. We've already talked to school transportation and fire and rescue, and we'll continue to do that throughout the entire process to make sure that that goes smoothly. And then the next mega project here is the Route 3 Chatham Bridge Superstructure replacement, which is another one of these mega projects that is nearing an end here. We are going to be opening the Chatham Bridge in October. We have not set a date yet. We're actually working right now to finalize the planning as it comes to a reopening event, which we'll let you all know. We do have some closures that started today around noon for River Road. That is restricting some of the turn movements there. These are only during the daytime hours today and tomorrow, and it should open in the evenings at 5 p.m. And then the other aspect to that, as a reminder, at the end of this project, what they're doing out there now is milling up some of that surface and resurfacing it as part of the project, but River Road will be restricted to a right-in, right-out post-project. Then we have the Route 1 bridge replacement over the Potomac Creek. This is a full replacement that's going to Widen the bridge. This project will replace the existing Route 1 bridge over the Potomac Creek. The new structure will be wider with 4 travel lanes. We're continuing to maintain 4 lanes of traffic along Route 1 during that time. That is scheduled for completion in early 2022. Sorry. We also have the Route 3 over Csx Bridge. This is Route 3 business there over top of the railroad. This is a beam-in repair project. We're doing this project. It came to our attention that we had some issues with the beam repairs, so it's very important that we got out there and repaired those to keep from having to post that bridge. So we've had a lot of problems working and trying to get CSX flaggers, which has significantly delayed the project. We're trying to catch up on a lot of that time now. We do have 1 lane closed westbound. That is closed Monday through Friday, and that's going to be going on through the end of February. So just keep that in mind as we pick up those closures every Friday afternoon, but that lane will be closed through February.
Mr. Bates, really quickly, Ms. Baumke has
Yes,
a
ma'am.
question.
Sure. Kyle, on that project, I've had some constituents say, well, why didn't they work on that in conjunction with the Chatham Bridge? Were you aware of the beam issues, or was that something that you just became aware of?
So I don't know the exact date, but I will say that we were aware of it during the Chatham Bridge project. The problem was getting these CSX flaggers. We can't do we could only do some of the work, and some of the work that didn't require a full lane closure. But when it comes to actually getting down there and working around CSX, we can't do that unless we have a flagger from them.
Okay.
And we struggled. And it's not just this project. We had another project on this contract that we had the same issues on in Spotsylvania.
Thank you.
This is the preliminary engineering underway for the Leland Road pedestrian project that y'all have heard a lot about. So this is the original sketch, and this is the original proposed timeline with the current completion date in summer of 2023. As Ms. Serbinsky and Mrs. McVicker, Supervisor Baumke stated, we are looking at some options on this one. We went to the August, I believe it was on the 3rd, with the Homeowners Association to give them the offer. We heard a lot of feedback from that, and we've heard that feedback. We've met with our elected officials, Delegate Cole, so we're continuing to work on this. We definitely hear the concerns, so what we're doing is trying to find another alternative, something that's going to still give the local connectivity that I think we're all looking for, while hopefully being able to minimize some of the impacts to the community. So, like I said, we're going to continue to work on that. I did hear you say the October date. That may change. If it does, I will let you know, along with the HOA. There's a lot of work to do between now and then. We have to design essentially a new project to make sure that it's going to fit within the right-of-way and determine what the cost impacts of that are going to be. So lots of work to do on that. We're continuing to work through those issues, and we'll keep you all updated as we go.
Okay, any update, thank you, Madam Chair, would be great, and we'll make sure we get the word out.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
This is the 644 bridge replacement over Aquia Creek. I really appreciate you all working with us last month. I know Deputy County Administrator sent some information out. We've been working with fire, EMS, and schools to determine the feasibility of closing this road for construction. We're going to save approximately $1 million by doing that. As with all of our other bridge replacements, we're going to be able to get that information out to the public, ensure that there's proper turnarounds and all of those things. But this project is one that is scheduled to be completed in 2026. Again, this closure is years off, but when that does happen, we will do all the public releasing that we typically do. A couple studies I want you all to be aware of, and this is a very exciting thing. These pipeline studies were recently approved and funded. These studies on both Route 1 and the Centerport area, these are going to give Stafford County the option to look at some of these studies and projects to apply for future smart scale projects. So this is great news. They're going to look at intersections. They're going to look at strategic ways in which we can keep our thoroughfare, especially on the Route 1 corridor, which gets a lot of traffic from 95 when there's incidents, accidents, and crashes. This is going to give us the ability to have some data behind some of the roadway projects that we're looking at. And then also in the Centerport area, like I said, and I know that there's a lot of development coming in that area, so this will give us in early 2022 the ability to have for the next round of Smart Scale some added projects that the county, if they so wish, can apply for. Some of the smaller projects that we have going on, the shoulder and wedge widening, we just recently completed the widening on Hartwood Road, Spotted Tavern, and Crop Road. You've seen that out there. I have gotten some questions about the resurfacing that will be done before the winter, so we are coming back to resurface those routes via our resurfacing contract. This is a great program that was started back when Keith Dayton was here with the county, where we looked at all the roads in Stafford County that weren't getting the love that some of the primary routes with a lot of the traffic were getting. And we've partnered with the county to work on some of these things. While we're doing the work, you all are assisting with the funding for the widening, and then we come back and resurface the entire road on the state's dime. So it's a fantastic program. We're going to continue to do this. The next round of these is starting. We're looking at another portion of Hartwood, Mountain View, and Winding Creek. So very exciting. We're going to continue to push that program. And then again, we're going to come back and overlay those routes on the resurfacing schedule after they're widened. We recently did some work here at Holley Corner at Coakley. Coakley was actually a road we did through the Rural Rustic program years back. We were able to improve some sight distance here at this intersection where you have these two state roads connecting. So here's a nice picture of you can see where that berm was cut down, the before picture on the left and after on the right to greatly improve some sight distance. So that one is complete. We have the Onville Road project, which was one that the county had prioritized. We're looking within the next 60 days to widen the shoulders along the right side of Onville Road if you're turning from 610, approximately 4 feet in some locations to get an asphalt shoulder where none really exists today. Again, that work should be completed, should begin and be completed within the next 60 days. We have another rural rustic project. This is on Route 658, Brent Point Road. Within the next 30 days, we'll be beginning construction. We're done with the erosion and sediment control. What we're going to be doing out here is eventually hard surfacing this road, but the first step in this is going to be some grading, some drainage improvements, and some pipe replacements, along with some cutting of trees and things like that to ensure that we have safe, traversable roadways. And at the end of that process, we come in and we surface treat the road. It's a great process. People love that. They enjoy getting that hard surface road as just something that's going, a gravel road that they currently have that has to be maintained by Vdot, and ultimately will get your vehicle very dusty. It also prohibits us from doing some of the things that we do during snow removal. So. Here on Stephanago, we have the tree trimming removal in the clear zone. This was to remove any of the hazardous trees that were within the clear zone and to improve some of the sight distance as well. Tree trimming has been completed. The larger tree removal is upcoming. We will be moving to Mountain View after that per the agreement that was signed, and we'll be doing the same thing on Mountain View after we finish up with Stephanago. Here at Shelton Shop. This one is very preliminary. We have not met with the county yet to define a scope, but this was one that was prioritized by the county for the secondary 6-year plan. This is the idea behind this project will be to improve some of the sight distance at Winding Creek and Shelton Shop. The other topic, which we are actively doing, is mowing on our primaries and secondaries. We're going to be coming back to Stafford County to do our last cycle of mowing, which should start next week. That's going to be both primaries, and then I believe we have another round to hit all of the primaries within Stafford County. So that should be coming starting next week. So we can keep an eye out for that, which should improve a lot of the sight distance issues that we do have out there. Brook Road, Brook Road, we recently, earlier in the calendar year, finished removing those beaver dams. We worked with the USDA to get that done through an agreement with them. We placed the water level markers. As the woman had said earlier, we've got the cameras out for 511. We do have a pipe replacement scheduled. The environmental process is a lengthy one on this one, given where it is at. So we may be having to replace that pipe in the spring. We've only had to close Brook Road, I believe it's been 3 times this calendar year. Last year, I think in total, in the entire calendar year, we were up towards, if I remember correctly, around 13. So that's good. Some of that has been weather, some of that has been beaver dams. It's kind of been a lot of different things that have played into that. This is the resurfacing schedule that we're currently working on. I'm not going to go through all these routes, but it's just for you all to have. You'll see on there Route 17, Warrenton, and then some of the surface treatment routes below that. We also have the upcoming resurfacing schedule that has not been completed yet. We have a lot of these areas, Route 1, Route 610, and then you'll see the ones that we talked about earlier where we have the widening for Heartwood, Spotted Tavern, and Crop and Skyline. We were also able to get some roads like Hale Road in the Woodlawn area, American Legion from I-95 to Route 1. So a lot of resurfacing, 77.83 lane miles of resurfacing in Stafford County. When I got back about a year ago, I told you all we were going to have a lot more secondary miles coming. They came. And we'll
Keep 'em
continue to have more.
We need about 700 more.
Madam
We
Chair.
write that down.
Yes, Mr. Snellings?
Quick question, Mr. Bates. What's the cost of 1 lane mile to resurface?
1 lane mile, if I remember correctly, it depends on what the treatment is, but usually asphalt is around $250,000 or so.
Okay, so if you got a 2-lane road, it's $500,000.
Absolutely.
Correct.
We put some pretty substantial contracts out to get this resurfacing done. We are looking to be to put out some more Cape Seal and surface treatment contracts because we find that goes a lot further on our secondary routes, especially. We have to be very selective with where those are. Some of these roads that have been, that have needed a resurfacing for quite some time, you can't put a Cape Seal or a surface treatment on. It has to be in fair condition. It is a very nice surface once you get it on and let traffic run over it. It's a much cheaper alternative. In fact, I think the surface treatment last I checked was around $30,000 to $40,000 a lane mile. So cost effective and efficient.
Ms. Bomke?
Yes, on the Harold Road, I'm sure you're aware because you probably cut through there going to different meetings, but there are a couple of really deep potholes right
Yep.
now. Are you guys going to fix those before you do the resurfacing?
Absolutely.
Or because I'm afraid somebody's going to swerve to kind of, because they're pretty deep.
Yep. So the deep potholes, frankly, we need to fix them now. But for holistically, any resurfacing schedule that we have, we don't just go put asphalt on top of an existing road unless we patch it first. Same thing with surface treatment, same thing with Cape Seal. It's really important that we repair what I'm going to call those base failures.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if I'm putting down a brand new mat of any kind of treatment, it's going to come right back through, and it's very important that we keep that from happening. We actually include that on our contracts so that whoever gets and bids on that contract has to do that patching ahead of time.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And that is it for me. I do have a couple of other things on here, but I feel that I've probably talked quite enough. I'll send you all some emails about some of the things that we've been discussing kind of individually.
Before you go, Ms. Lamb has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Bates. I'm quite disappointed about the culverts, and I really had hoped that we could get those done this fall. Was that 1 or 2 culverts that's going to be done in that maintenance project?
It's just one culvert. And I'll be frank with you, Ms. Lamb, if we can get that done in the fall, we will. We're just waiting on the environmental permit. Once we get that permit, we'll be able to go to work, but it's taken a little longer than I would like. But as soon as I get it, we'll be out there.
Yeah, and I would expect that, and thank you very much for the constant updates. I did want to thank you for pumping out Brook Road before we actually thought that the hurricane went, a different direction, thank
Yes, ma'am.
goodness. But thank you very much for being proactive in that, and it's disappointing news, but,
I will keep you updated.
okay, thank you.
Mr. Snellings?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Kyle, you heard Mr. Scott from Colonial Forge earlier.
Yes, sir.
Is there any way that you or one of your folks could meet with me and those folks out there to take a look at that.
No problem. In fact, you just reminded me that we had chatted a few months back relating to mostly some other things going on in the neighborhood. But that being said, I mean, we can look at the crosswalk there. We try and funnel people to the appropriate and the safest location to cross. But his point is very well taken. Sometimes people are going to do what they're going to do. So we need to take a look at that and figure out how we can either change that behavior or fix it. So,
Well, I appreciate
absolutely.
that. Would you want me to get in touch with your office to set up something?
I'll call you.
Okay, sounds good. The only other thing I had was the intersection of Route 1 and American Legion Road.
Okay.
That light in the afternoon, starting about 3 o'clock, backs up traffic sometimes 2 and 3 miles going southbound.
Yeah.
Can you guys take a look at that light and see if it changed the timing or something?
Yeah, it's one American Legion. You said
American Legion or Route 1?
it's in a very difficult area, being around Enon, and we got the school on Enon and all that. I know that's one that we've been fighting with. I can look at the timing. The problem that we run into. I'm sorry, am I in the wrong location?
Yeah, it's not the one at Enon Road.
Okay.
It's at American, Eskimo Hill.
Eskimo, gotcha.
Yeah, Eskimo
Okay,
Hill.
I'll have to see if that's in coordination with anything. I don't know off the top of my head,
I
but
wouldn't think
nonetheless,
so. It's just too far away.
we can look at the timing, see if
Okay.
we can adjust it. The only thing we have to think about when we adjust timing on a road, especially one like Route 1, is if I'm giving extra time to the side roads, I've got to take that from Route 1. And during the AM peak and the PM peak, that's usually not a good idea, but I'll take a look at it nonetheless, and there may be some tweaking that we can
Okay,
do.
thank you.
All right, Ms. Bomke?
I'll be brief. I just wanted to give you the friendly reminder about the light or the blinking light at Falmouth Fire Station.
Yep.
Okay, I know we're working on that, and also the intersection of Castle Rock and Butler Road.
Yep, that's
Okay.
one of my notes here. I've got a meeting next week with I believe it was Lisa was her name,
Right.
to meet out there, and I'm also meeting with a woman out at Van Horn to talk about some speeding and some of the other things we're doing out there. So
Okay.
both of those are on my list here, and I've got meetings scheduled with both of those citizens.
All right, thank you very much.
Mr. Cohen was feeling left out, so
Just,
he has a question.
Sure.
I know, just to tag along, though I like Thin Mints better, but just to tag along on Mr. Snelling's, you are more than welcome to come and visit us at the Forge at between 3:25 and 3:45. And you can stand with me
Sure.
as I
Let's
direct
do
traffic
it.
and you can see it.
Let's do it.
But it may be something that needs to be communicated to the school system about all the high schools and the middle schools.
I had talked to them, I believe it was the assistant principal, probably within the last month. That was the first day of school, I believe. We ended up changing some timing out there. We are working to put up a sign to restrict some of the right turns, because with the time change, the sign is now incorrect. So we've taken that, we need to replace that. But that is a very difficult, there's a project there to fix some of that, a local project. But nonetheless, absolutely, if there's some tweaking that we can do, we will do it. It's a delicate puzzle, I will just say that, because that's, when you hear me talk about innovative intersections, this is why we enjoy innovative intersections, because it keeps that through traffic moving, and you don't have to have that side traffic make a left turn across. So all that being said, I'll take a look at it, and I'll be happy to meet you out there.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Bates. And before you go off, I just wanted to let you know you did talk briefly about the Leland Trail sidewalk coming back to the board potentially on October 5th in the Infrastructure Committee. If you missed that meeting, the next time it would likely come before the board at an Infrastructure Committee meeting would be November 16th.
Right.
And that's fine, because we want you to get it right, and we want you to be able to work with the residents.
Yep.
But I just wanted to give you that timing and also say it out loud so people would also hear it, okay?
Perfect. And
Great.
if I can't make that October meeting, because we're still working through the process, that email will be blasted out to everybody, because I think it's important that we let everybody know.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Yep. Thank you all.
Madam Chair, the final report under my report is the COVID-19 update, which will be presented by Kim Murphy-Orr.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Board. My name is Kim Murphy-Orr. I work with Stafford County Fire and Rescue in the Emergency Management Division, and I would like to give you a COVID-19 update for the Stafford County citizens and yourself. Stafford County currently is rated in high transmission The rate comes because we are over a 10% positivity rate, as well as our case counts. Our 7-day average of cases are 74, which is up from 56 last week. We've had a steady incline of cases. Our Stafford County 7-day weekly positivity rate is 13.53. To give you a snapshot of what that looks like, when I got hired in December, we were at 18. We were 5% away from where we were in December before our spike in January. Our case rates in Virginia continue to rise steadily. Out of 32 of the 35 districts in Virginia are in a surge. For the week of September through August 3rd, we increased mask usage and vaccinations across Virginia have shown in our models that a significant uptake in activity and total case counts could still come to close to historic heights in the coming weeks. Modeling indicates in the short term, mask usage and social distancing is the most effective countermeasure against a fall surge. In the long term, increased vaccinations could prevent tens of thousands of winter cases. With the Delta variant as a new variant of strain, the CDC recommends that all individuals wear masks in public indoors, continue to social distance, especially if we're in a substantial or high transmission rate of Stafford County. I've also been seeing a new symptom of COVID-19 from those individuals that are positive, have been reporting to me that they are complaining of an ear infection or ear pain, and they think they have just a sinus infection, and they come back and they're COVID positive. So something to look out for. This is the surveillance report, and it's a snapshot of Stafford County, Rappahannock Area Health District, Virginia, and United States. I'd like to look at our new case count for Stafford County in 1 week. Between August 28th and September 3rd, we had 515 new cases. That was up from 390 cases the prior week. Our hospitalizations stayed the same at 9, for a total of 416 people in Stafford County that have been hospitalized. We've had 2 unfortunate deaths due to COVID this past week. Currently in the Rappahannock Area Health District, we have 85 patients currently hospitalized. This is a snapshot of what it looks like in Stafford County as far as hospitalizations. Stafford County is in the blue, Rappahannock Area Health District, hospitalizations is in the red. The week of August 28th, like I said, we have 85 individuals who remain in the hospital due to COVID. Out of those, 9 are Stafford County residents. A Stafford County daily case counts a snapshot to give you a look at our trend. The yellow is the trend line. We are on a steady but slight incline. At one point last week, we've reached a case rate over 100 in 1 day. My vaccine update includes growth in the vaccination rates are higher than June and July. It has a very slight uptick with those individuals who are becoming fully vaccinated. And although the White House has stated that boosters should be given and available beginning the week of September 20th, the CDC and other health organizations are still evaluating the need for a booster. The CDC does recommend a 3rd dose for immunocompromised individuals who are 12 and older. On August 23rd, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration granted full approval of the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine for individuals 16 and older. This vaccine will be marketed under a new name. It is the same vaccine. The CDC and other health organizations such as ACIP continue to review the potential inclusion of 5 to 11-year-olds receiving a vaccine by this fall. The emergency use authorization for Pfizer will continue to cover children 12 to 15-year-old. Additional data is required for full approval and the safety for this age. Moderna and Johnson & Johnson will continue to be administered as well as the FDA reviews real-time data and real-time world use. Our vaccination rates for Stafford County and Virginia. Last week, we have over 140,000 individuals who are administered doses. That's up 1,700 doses in 1 week. The percent of our population fully vaccinated is 45.7. Last week, it was 45.1. It has been increasing, but we hope to increase a little bit more. The people that are fully vaccinated, the amount of people that are fully vaccinated out of over 150,000 individuals in Stafford County is 69,877.
Really quick question for you.
Yes.
How do these numbers account for federal government employees? I know a lot of federal government employees were offered the vaccine at their place of employment, so a lot of folks drove up north or maybe south to get their vaccine. Are those calculated in these numbers?
The federal numbers are not calculated in these numbers.
Okay, so it could kind of give us a false
Yes.
low number when a lot.
Correct.
We have, Fred, do you remember how many federal government employees we have in Stafford? It's a ridiculous amount. It's like,
Between federal government and contractors, it's well over 60% of the workforce.
60%, okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. As of August 28th, 4,832,258 Virginians have been fully vaccinated against COVID-19. Of these, 0.4% have developed COVID-19, 0.016% have been hospitalized, and 0.0032% have died. These are called vaccine breakthrough cases. You can still contract the virus even if you're fully vaccinated. However, it is less likely. The total vaccinated COVID-19 infection breakthrough cases are 17,256. Out of those individuals, 760 have been hospitalized, and there have been 154 vaccine breakthrough deaths in Virginia. This shows the rate of infection by vaccination status. Fully vaccinated individuals are the bottom line trend. They're in the dark blue. Partially vaccinated are the teal, and the unvaccinated are the yellow. Unvaccinated people are at a steady, sharp upcline, actually, to receive the COVID-19 virus. Unvaccinated people develop COVID-19 at a rate 9.2 times that of fully vaccinated people and 2.5 times of partially vaccinated individuals. Virginia Children and COVID-19 State Data Report states that we've had 124,000 children COVID cases, and that is an increase from last week. The percent of the total cases is 16% of children have received or have contracted COVID-19. The total of children hospitalizations out of that number is 788 for a 2.4% total percent of children hospitalized. The mortality rate, we've had a total of 10 deaths, and that's an increase from last week of 1, with 0.01% of cases resulting in child death, and has not changed in the last 2 weeks. This gives you a little snapshot of Stafford County employees. Our total quarantined from September 5th, 664 people. It does not, however, give you a true snapshot of how many of them developed COVID. At the beginning, we were not mandating or requiring a testing. We just now started that recently. So we have about 114 that we could have known COVID cases and that we were able to capture. We'll have more data coming forward in the past month on fully vaccinated cases that we can capture, and also with requiring that they take a PCR test. This week alone, we've had 6 that are known COVID positive who work for the county, and 19 that are currently quarantined. This shows the total employee quarantined in the county in the blue for a year snapshot. And like I said, it does not show a true capture of the COVID positive in the red because we were not requiring a testing component. In the months of June through July, you see we have low numbers and some are 0 numbers. The fully vaccinated individuals who have had breakthrough cases total 5, and that is from July 31st until the week of August 28th for county employees. In addition, Stafford County continues to provide outreach, conduct vaccine clinics for county employees. Anyone that needs a vaccine clinic, they can reach out to us and we can try and discuss that. We provided one to county employees on 9/2. And we also continue to provide vaccination to homebound residents. I'd really like to stress that. Individuals who are not able to leave their home and need a COVID-19 vaccine can reach out and call the Rappahannock Health Department at 540-899-4799 97 and to get on the homebound list. Once you get on the homebound list, we will come out to their house and we will give them a COVID vaccination. We also engage in bi-monthly community education in collaboration with the REMS Council every other week. And for additional information, as of September 8th, the Rappahannock Area Health District will be discontinuing the weekly free drive-through COVID-19 testing at Stafford Hospital. Additional drive-through testing that are free are being hosted throughout the health district, and more information and registration links can be found at the Rappahannock Area Health Department website. Also, if you need a copy of your COVID-19 vaccine and vaccination, if you've lost your card or you would just like to have something from Viz, please visit vaccinate.virginia.com and use the vaccination record request portal, and you can print out or see or view your COVID shot vaccination. Thank you.
Any questions from Ms. Kimmer-Fior? No? Very thorough presentation. Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Presley? All done? Okay. Now we'll move on to the approval of the consent agenda. And before I do that, I did fail to mention in my chairman's comments that we are missing 2 board members today. Supervisor Allen is on an extended leave of medical absence, and we wish her very well, and hopefully she'll be able to join us soon. And Supervisor Dudenheffer is actually dealing with some devastation at his mother-in-law's house in Louisiana and dealing with cleaning up from the hurricane. So we're praying for him and his family and are looking forward to his return as well. Moving on to the consent, I've been requested by Supervisor Lamb to remove item number 15. So do I have a motion minus item 15 to approve consent?
So moved.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, please cast your votes. Well, I pushed it. Okay, tally the votes, please. And that motion carries 5 with 2 absent. Okay, item number 15, Supervisor Lamb.
Item number 15 is about a new VATI grant application. I'm not going to need you, Mr. Cannon. Thank you very much. The reason I brought it out is I wanted to bring it to the public's attention to go look at the documentation that we have in this. And so 4 years ago, we started on the path of getting broadband into Stafford County. Aquia led because, frankly, we really needed it. And now we have, through our VATI grant process, we got over $780,000 in addition to other monies that we received from other areas to provide that coverage in Stafford County. This particular VATI grant application that we have that I'm absolutely going to approve is now extending that into Hartwood, Rock Hill, and Griffiths Whitewater District, who are equally negatively impacted. So with that, Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve R21-322.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, go ahead and cast your votes. Tally the votes. That motion carries with 5 and 2 absent. Okay, moving on to unfinished business. I know there is some public here around critical race theory, and I know the schools are here. I'm trying to be really supportive of their time. Does anybody have any issues if I take up item 18 first and then we go to item 17?
No.
Okay, is everybody okay with that? Nobody has any issues? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and skip over 17 and highlight number 18, which is discuss Stafford County School Curriculum Project 1619 and critical race theory. This was new business last meeting, and Supervisor Snellings had brought this to the board for discussion, and it's on the agenda for unfinished business. So I will be deferring over to Mr. Snellings first, and then we will open it up to the board for additional discussion. And we have Dr. Jones here with us. Thank you very much, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. Nice to meet you.
Nice to see you.
Wish we were discussing a different topic during my first formal presentation to the board, but Madam Chair, certainly thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening, Board of Supervisors. Mr. Presley, thank you for your invitation. The county staff, I want to thank 2 of our board members, Ms. Hazard and Dr. Warner, who are here, as well as Dr. Nichols and Mr. Fulmer for being here today. I'll be brief. I recognize you have a long agenda. So the answer to the question about critical race theory is simple. We don't teach it. We never have. I know there's a lot of emotion across the country about this issue. Every single thing we teach is publicly available and developed by the Virginia Department of Education. So we don't teach it. I did send information to Mr. Presley after our August 24th board meeting with a statement. I wish Mr. Cortez was here to listen to this. I think we've been very transparent about whether or not we give this any attention. We don't. Quite frankly, we're trying to recover from a pandemic. So most of our focus is on unfinished learning. We've been 18 months without having kids in school. That's our focus. So I would challenge you, I did share, I would invite the public to go to our website. Our standards of learning information is available on the website and accessible to the public. There is a history and social science page on our website, and there's information about the courses that are taught in history and social science. As a matter of fact, you have a member of our team on your board of supervisors who I think is relatively familiar with our curriculum. So with that, I'll go directly to Mr. Snelling's questions about the writings of Ibram Kendo and Robin DeAngelo. The question was, are those materials made available to teachers and staff and students? In Stafford County, the answer is no, it's not part of our curriculum. There was also a question about a 911 sensitivity training video that was recently on the VDOE website. If you saw the news last week, you know that's been taken down. Our teachers aren't a part of that. Question about teacher orientation, that was also on our website, the things we do for our teacher orientation. I will just share with you that because I keep calling myself new to Stafford County, but I've been here more than a year now. But I did spend 2 days in our new teacher orientation because I wanted to learn firsthand what we do for our teacher orientation. And there was no discussion about white privilege in our teacher orientation. As a matter of fact, I'll just share this with you as an insight. You know that all of us are struggling across the country to find teachers. I really believe what we're doing here in Stafford County to support new teachers is going to make a difference on retention. We do quite a bit to support our new teachers. Mr. Cohen, I don't know if you've had that experience, but we do quite a bit to support our new teachers. And as a matter of fact, I'll just share with you, we did have one of our new teachers from Fairfax said, if I had gotten this in Fairfax, I would have stayed in Fairfax for a year. So we do a lot. We don't just work with them at the beginning of the year. We work with them all year long to ensure that we're supporting them. And then the last question is, are any teachers or staff or students asked to identify by their pronoun? That is not a directive or an expectation that's been set by any of our staff in Stafford County. So I think there's a lot of information out in the media that may lead people to believe that we're doing some of those things. We're not. I will real quickly, there are two Senate bills, two General Assembly bills, rather, that were passed this year. Senate Bill 1196 and House Bill 1904. And those two bills focus on cultural competency training for school staff. And if you want to learn more about cultural competency training, that really is looking at the diversity of the students we serve and making sure that we're prepared to serve all students. And then finally, there is a new African American history elective that's offered. That course will be offered in the spring of 2021, and we are still awaiting some guidance from the VDOE on that course. So with that, hopefully I haven't taken much of your time.
Go ahead, Mr. Snellings.
Dr. Jones, thank you for being here. I'm the individual that initiated this, as I'm sure you know. And I initiated it because I was getting questions and comments from my constituents.
Right.
And I was asking questions of certain people, and I was not getting answers. So back about a month, 6 weeks ago, I asked Dr. Kisner to come over, and of course that didn't happen, partially our fault, or my fault, and of course with his illness and his retirement. So I appreciate you being here today. We had a lady at our last meeting stand where you're standing. Mm-hmm. She's a parent at Brook Point High School, saying that her children were specifically asked to identify their pronoun, which really concerns me. Mm-hmm. When I look at your emails from you, you sign your email Stanley B. Jones, EDD, and then in parentheses you put he, him, his. So you are identifying your pronoun, correct?
I am.
So are other teachers or any teachers in your system asking a student to identify their pronoun?
Not to my knowledge.
Not to your knowledge. You can assure us that that won't happen.
Well, I can't control what an individual teacher may do. I can tell you, like I've said before, we have not directed our staff to do that. That is not an expectation.
So you don't think that's happening?
I didn't say that. I said, we haven't directed our staff to do that.
Okay.
And it isn't an expectation.
Okay, well, it's not an expectation, but it's obviously it's happening, and that concerns me. Going back to this Department of Education, Virginia Department of Education, 9/11 sensitivity training, I don't know if the audience knows what that is or not, but it is shameful that the Department of Education in Virginia would authorize this to be shown to our teachers. It tells people in that video that those 19 terrorists were not terrorists, they were extremists. That the United States of America is not an exceptional country, we're just like anybody else. It went on for an hour and a half. Now you're saying your teachers never saw that.
To my knowledge, our teachers never, you may be aware that was taken down. It was up last week, taken down.
It was taken down
Yeah.
because the Virginia Department of Education got so much heat they couldn't handle it. So they took it down. My concern, and this is not with you, my concern is with our Department of Education. I mean, what's going through their minds? In Fairfax, the gentleman that wrote this book, Ibram Kendi, you familiar with him?
I am.
Fairfax County paid him $20,000 for a video. $20,000. And this is not Fairfax. They also bought his book and gave it to all their teachers. Prince William County is having the same issues. And if you go through this book, I hope you read it. It is unbelievable.
Well, I'm going to be candid with you. I'm focused on unfinished learning for
And
Stafford County Public Schools.
I appreciate that.
And I'm here to represent Stafford County Public Schools.
And
I can't speak to what any other school divisions do.
Believe me, Doctor, I don't expect you to, but I'm concerned that some of this stuff seems to be sifting down. I mean, you know, when I grew up here, we weren't part of Northern Virginia. In the last 20 years of my life, we all of a sudden part of Northern Virginia. So it really concerns me. So if we have your assurances that this is not going to happen, and the school board's assurances, I think that's what this board is looking for, at least what I'm looking for, and I think it's what our constituents are looking for, that this just won't happen in our school system.
Well, again, I can't control the individual decision of any staff member. I will say this about our staff in terms of the curriculum, and Mr. Cohen knows this. The Virginia Department of Education and the state has set the parameters under which we evaluate teachers. And it's pretty clear that they're expected to teach curriculum written by the state. So if there are teachers that are not following the state's guidance or our guidance, we will deal with that.
So if you find a teacher that is, in fact, teaching some form of critical race theory, you will correct that.
That is a personnel matter, and you know we can't talk about that publicly, but yes, we have a process
Okay.
for addressing that.
I appreciate that. That's all the questions I have, Madam Chairman.
Anyone else? Mr. Cohen?
Well, since you kept citing me, I guess what I think, and I tried to convey this to a couple of school board members who I communicated with, was because they were not getting the emails and the phone calls that the various members on this body were. And so I just want to make sure, if a parent feels that in any way, shape, or form, anything in the classroom, whether it's Keynesian versus supply side, or it's critical race theory, or it's the pronoun issue, if they do not feel comfortable going to the first level, which is the classroom teacher, and often they don't want to go that level,
Right.
as you well know, and they don't feel comfortable going to the administration, and for whatever reason they don't feel going to the school board member, is it your contention that they should feel comfortable reaching out to you in your office to express that information so that it can be handled if they have concerns?
Two comments. First of all, I'm the interim superintendent, but previously I was associate superintendent for instruction. So I think I have a pretty good idea what we teach, or at least what we're supposed to teach. And under me is the entire curriculum department. They're direct reports to me. So I would encourage folks, if they have questions about, again, first of all, I'd say to the public, go on the Virginia Department of Education website or our website and look at the curriculum. So it's accessible to you. So again, to answer your question, I have no problem with that whatsoever.
And the reason why I bring that up is because I'm very well aware of the social studies curriculum, but many of the individuals who have either communicated at that podium or sent emails were talking about other disciplines.
Mm-hmm.
And so And I'll be honest, I've repeatedly said, not happening in social studies. Somebody in my department who I have a great deal of respect for is teaching the African American history class, and is like, no, we're not doing these things. But the public comments have been disciplines that were not social studies. So that's why I think that I've seen heads bobbing, so I feel comfortable. I think that's where our body was feeling uncomfortable, that people were coming to us with concerns, and they just want to be able to know that they can go to the appropriate channels to deal with it.
So, Mr. Cohen, this is not a comment I had planned to make, but I'm prepared to make it. This is a distraction for us, to be quite honest. So if we continue to get questions among our staff about this, I will direct them not to respond. We have more important work to do. And I hate to be that kind of that harsh, but I'm prepared to do that. We have important work to do to make up for the last 18 months. That's where our focus is.
Ms. Lamb had her hand on there. Okay.
Okay, I just wanted to address a comment that you made, because I'm really sure I couldn't have heard that right. I thought you said that, and I'm looking at our staff, so I don't know school staff, but I thought you said something that you can't control the performance of your staff? Did I misunderstand that?
You did misunderstand it. I said,
Good.
well, I can't control an individual decision by an individual staff member. I can respond to it, but I can't control what they do. None of us can.
Well, okay, to your point, because I was sitting there going, and I'm looking at our county administrator, if we had staff that did something egregious, then we would fire him. You know, that's it. That's who we fire.
Exactly.
Okay, all right. And so,
Look, I'm not afraid of accountability. The board has two employees, the superintendent and the board clerk. So if that's a reflection of my evaluation, I'm not afraid of accountability.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much, sir. And we're the same way. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Snelling?
Madam Chairman, Doctor, with all due respect, I'm very concerned about your last comment. What you're saying right now is that from this day forward, unless I misunderstood you, that you don't want to hear any more complaints about critical race theory, don't want to hear any more complaints about pronouns or anything else, because you've got more important things to do. And I'm sure you do. I know the struggles you've got, from buses to lack of teachers and everything else. But are you telling the people of this county that this is it? I've answered the questions, it's over.
What I'm suggesting to you is that we're focusing on unfinished learning. That is the highest priority among our staff. It's certainly my expectation. And if they're not focused on that, we're going to deal with it.
But you're not going to take any more complaints.
I can't control the complaints we get. I can only control how I respond to them.
I don't want to get into a contest here. I really don't, and the hour's getting late. But it concerns me when you say that we're not going to respond.
I didn't say that. I said,
You did.
Your question, if I remember, again, I don't want to argue with you either. It's
No, sir.
not my nature to do so. I think what I suggested was that I'm going to encourage our staff to focus on the most important thing right now, which is recovering from the last 18 months of the pandemic.
Okay.
I think that's what you would expect me to do.
Absolutely.
I think that's our duty to the public. I know that's what our board expects. That's our number one priority.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else? Is it my turn yet? Okay, so just a couple quick questions. I think all the public schools in Virginia teach the Virginia Department of Education curriculum.
Correct.
But I think what we're hearing from constituents is how individual teachers are choosing to educate that particular curriculum. I can tell you that you have spiked our ratings because my phone keeps blowing up with examples of issues that parents have had in the schools. So my first question to you is, if a teacher, for example, had a child that was required by Google form and a required field to fill out the he, his, him pronouns, where should they direct those types of complaints going forward?
Initially to the teacher and to the school staff.
And then how will you guys be providing a list of complaints back to your school board, or making a list public to the community?
Well, typically, if there's a parent that has a concern at the school level, what we would expect them to do is to begin, initially connecting at the school level. As you know this, most of our families engage with schools at the school level. So to the extent that we can resolve it at the school level, we certainly will.
And so I guess my question then just ties into, so like if I'm working with Fred and we've got 100 different complaints in one department, I would expect him at some level to bring that to us and say, guys, I think we might have a problem in this particular class in this particular school, or for our example, in this particular department. How will you track that then, if it's really sort of self-governed within the teacher and within the school?
So you know this, that we engage with our leadership every week by level, elementary, middle, and high. So we have regular meetings with our principals every single week. We have a once a month all principals meeting. So typically, if we're hearing some major concern, we're going to address it directly with our staff when that concern arises. That's part of our operation protocol.
Okay, I'll move on to the next one. So I did a little perusing. Now, I don't have kids in Stafford schools, so when I was here, I don't have kids at all, so they're not in Stafford schools, but I did a little bit of research because I was very unfamiliar with some of the complaints that I was receiving from constituents. So I went on your website, and I ended up on your diversity, equity, and inclusion cultural sensitivity page. And on there was a link to the National Equity Project. Why do you guys have a link to the National Equity Project on that website?
Well, they've done some, I'll have to have Ms. Band-Aid speak to that. The National Equity Project is just one among many resources that work with school divisions across the country. So they're a resource to us.
So that's concerning to me because their foundational principles, when you go to their website, is the education of critical race theory. And all of their fundamental principles under there are critical race theory. So I was able, without having kids in the school, to click 2 buttons and end up on something that educates critical race theory. So I think those kinds of things are things that our parents are seeing, which definitely aid to the concerns that they may be having.
So maybe there's some misunderstanding of what critical race theory is. My understanding of critical race theory is that it's something that's taught at the higher ed level, and that focuses on law schools in particular. We're not a higher ed institution, and we're not a law school. So, again, we're focused on the content and the curriculum standards set by the state.
Well, I don't have the definition right in front of me, but I can tell you, when you Wikipedia it, it's definitely not a law school-based curriculum. So anyway, okay, I don't want to take up more time. Does anybody else have anything else? Mr. Snellings?
I don't have any more questions for Dr. Jones, but I do want to thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you,
really
sir.
do. Madam Chairman, I'd like to bring back to the next meeting a resolution by the board stating our opposition to critical race theory, the request to identify pronouns from students, bring that back to the board so that we can, and I'll ask the board to look at it and pass it. And I'd like to tie that to funding. Funding being any monies that's used for this type of instruction be withheld by the board.
Madam
Okay.
Chairman, I'll
Thank you.
second that motion. If it's not a motion suggestion, I'm behind it. How about that?
Okay, Ms. Bomke, really quickly.
I would just like to add to what Mr. Snellings mentioned, what you referenced regarding the double clicks on that link, because that group should not be tied into this, because it's all about critical race theory with that particular link in that national organization.
Okay, so Mr. Snellings, do you have a motion to bring back a resolution for the board? And do you want it on unfinished business or new business?
Next week, it can be on, I think it can be on unfinished business, can it, Madam Attorney? Unfinished business, yeah, motion to bring that back to the board at our next meeting, which is, I believe, September 21st.
Very good. And I have a second by Supervisor Shelton. Is there any further discussion? Okay. Seeing none, I'd like the board to go ahead and cast your votes. And tally the votes, please. And that motion carries 5 with 2 absent. Thank you so much, Dr. Jones, for coming. Appreciate it. Okay, so now I'm going to back up and go to item number 17. And thank you so much, Mr. Tuigo, for being patient with us there. The County Administration presentation of Stafford County's 2020 census results and next steps in the redistricting process. And for this, we'll recognize Mr. Tuigo. Oh, wait, Mr. Harvey? What?
Yes, Madam Chairman, myself and Mr. Tawigo will be doing a joint presentation regarding the 2020 census results and then also its implications to the county for reapportionment and redistricting. If I can have the computer, please. We have received preliminary information with regards to the census and how it can potentially impact redistricting. We received that information on August 21st of this year. The data is also available on the Census Bureau's website for information regarding Stafford County in particular, as well as the Commonwealth of Virginia and the nation. We are using Esri GIS software to help analyze the data for redistricting purposes. As of today, I'm not aware of us being able to manipulate that data yet. We are waiting for a download of information from Esri before we can do so. On the national level, the population has increased about 22 million people over the last 10 years to over 331 million people. It's our slowest population growth as a country since the 1930s. The population growth has been somewhat uneven throughout the country. We've seen declines in the Northeast and Midwest, which were typically known as the Rust Belt. We're continuing to see growth in the South and West parts of the county, with 86.3% of the population residing in metropolitan areas. So most of the growth has been in the metropolitan areas that we've seen from a national perspective. Virginia has also grown similar to what we see what's been happening in the South, but over the last decade, our population growth has slowed somewhat. This is a map of the United States which shows the rate of population growth, green being 20% or more, all the way down to the orange color, which is 0. If you notice the map, we are in this general area here, which is the Washington metropolitan area. There's a lot of green and green shade, so you can see this whole area and region have been growing significantly over the past decade. With regard to the United States demographics, we're seeing that the U.S. population is becoming more multiracial and ethnically diverse. There's been significant growth in the population as reporting to be multiracial or of some varying races. Also, statistics for individual ethnic and racial groups are listed here. Currently, white is still the majority of people within the country, but that is changing, and a number of different categories have been increasing over the past decade. Similarly, with Stafford County, our population has grown approximately 28,000 since 2010 to almost 157,000 people within the county. That's a 21.2% increase, which places us number 2 in the Commonwealth behind Loudoun County as far as percentage growth within the last decade. We are the 7th largest jurisdiction within Virginia, and if you count cities and counties together, we're rated number 13. We have 52,000, almost 53,000 housing units in the county, which was close to a 9,000 unit increase over the past decade, or close to 900 units a year for the past decade. That's a 20% increase in total number of housing units within the county. Our equal distribution rate, if we are to reapportion, is 22,418. So that's how many people you would have in each of the 7 election districts if we were to reapportion down to the exact number. For the purpose of reapportionment, we can have a variable of plus or minus 5% in that number. This is an interesting chart here. It takes into account the population in 2010 in this column, and then the population in 2020. And you can see the numbers that have changed per election district. But then here's what some people will refer to as the over-under. So this, the negative means that you're over the deviation that's acceptable, and the plus means you're under the deviation that's acceptable. So that has some ramifications for the various different election districts, where some are going to have to gain population. Others are going to have to lose population in their districts to make it equal and balanced. This is some more information about the county's population demographics. We're generally following the state, and then again, we're becoming a more diverse community. When we look at Stafford's overall population, we're again becoming more multiracial, more diverse. We're also a population that continues to grow very quickly, being one of the highest growth rates in the Commonwealth. And we are slightly more diverse than Virginia as a whole, which is reflective of our position here within what now Mr. Snellings is saying being classified as part of Northern Virginia. When we look at reapportionment, it's likely that Hartwood and Acquire are going to have to decrease in size, in geography, and also number of people that will be within that election district. George Washington, Rock Hill, and Falmouth are under the equal population figure and will likely have to increase. Garrisonville and Griffiths Widewater are closest to the projected over-under number and may be able to stay somewhat static as far as their overall boundaries, depending upon where the pluses and minuses go, affecting all the other election districts. And I'm going to turn it over to Anthony to talk about redistricting and specifically how it's affecting things at the state level.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. I'm Anthony Tawigo, Constituent and Legislative Affairs Officer. I'll be as brief as possible. So, redistricting is beginning. August 12th was the date that the Census Bureau released redistricting data to states and localities, and that date did trigger the start of the Virginia Redistricting Commission's work. They have 45 days to submit to the General Assembly the state, House, and Senate maps, and 45 days to submit to the General Assembly the congressional district maps. We'll see that in the next slide, what that could mean. So there is going to be a special session of the General Assembly coming up in mid to late fall of this year. A date has not been set at this time, but that session will focus on approval of the redistricting maps. There are a couple of topics to be aware of. The first is that the Virginia Redistricting Commission did vote at a recent meeting in August 12-4 to proceed withdrawing the new federal and state maps from a totally blank slate. So that could prolong the process, but they're not using the current and existing district boundaries as their point of start. They're starting totally fresh. Also, prison population counts are another issue. New legislation from the 2020 General Assembly session requires incarcerated persons be counted in the census from localities in which they resided prior to their incarceration. So that has already received a legal challenge from Senator Travis Hackworth. He's Virginia's newest state senator from Southwest Virginia. He also has 5 prisons in his district. He's alleging that that could affect his district's federal and state funding going forward. That lawsuit is ongoing. So we'll move on to slide 11. So this slide is a graphic prepared by the Virginia Division of Legislative Services, and it details the various statutory deadlines that the commission and the state would have to meet based on the date of when redistricting data is received. So for all intents and purposes, we're looking at August 12th, so just those first 2 columns on this side here. So I mentioned before the 45-day and 60-day deadlines at the top of the map. So the 45-day deadline to submit the state data maps would be September 26th, and the 60-day deadline to submit the congressional maps would be October 11th. So I'm not going to read this slide verbatim, but basically there are several scenarios that could play out here, all of which could be, adoption by the General Assembly or ultimately adoption by the Supreme Court of Virginia. I will say that if the General Assembly or the Virginia Redistricting Commission does not submit their maps by that September 26th and October 21st deadline to the Virginia General Assembly, they are granted an additional 2 weeks. If they fail to do it after that, then the courts draw the maps entirely. But there's various approvals throughout this process. The big takeaway for the board is we could see approval of maps anytime between October 11th and even December if the process plays out all the way through with the General Assembly and it ends up in the court system. So needless to say, this could all affect what we do locally. Things are becoming clearer slightly, but things also remain certainly very much unclear. There are two state laws to be cognizant of. We've mentioned these consistently throughout this process. The first is Senate Bill 740 from the 2020 session. That is the split precincts bill. That bill requires every local precinct to be wholly contained within a single congressional, state senate, House of Delegates, and local election district. The challenge here, if we start redistricting now, which we could start taking a look at some of the census data, is we have to make sure that our split precincts are wholly contained to meet this legislative requirement. Secondly, the Virginia Voting Rights Act. This was passed just recently this year. But VVRA, the Virginia Voting Rights Act, what it does is it restores preclearance to the redistricting process. And there are two means that localities can pursue in order to meet preclearance requirements. The first, they can apply for a certificate of no objection with the Virginia Attorney General's office. That basically just says we're going to send, Stafford County or any locality can send the maps to the Attorney General. The Attorney General can approve them and basically just send them back to us and say there's no objection, there's no concern. There's also a public comment process. And under that scenario, a locality must publish a notice for public comment and on its proposed election district and precinct maps on its website for 30 days. During that public comment time, one public hearing must be held. So if we went with that scenario, we would have to incorporate that into the end of our redistricting process to encapsulate our public comments. Then once the maps are approved, we have to make notice that for another 30 days that the maps will take effect 30 days thereafter. Now, in speaking with county attorney, when we get to that point in time, we could pursue both scenarios. The AG route, the no objection certificate, is much quicker. But if we need to satisfy both comments or pursue both routes to satisfy those items, we definitely can. So as far as next steps go, all of this is being communicated to the full board today, but staff would recommend the redistricting committee get back together sometime in mid to late September and start nailing down on what that census and redistricting data does look like, especially at the census block level. Another item to consider is establishing criteria for precinct names. We've established we will need 10 to 12 new precincts. Just having some criteria about how to name those precincts is one of those low-hanging fruit items, so to speak, we can get done now that we don't have to worry about later on when it becomes crunch time. And lastly, we are going to be working on the initial stakeholder and public information meetings. We have some dates kind of out there already. I'll mention that we did receive 5 stakeholder applications, and we'll be contacting those groups pretty shortly. They were the Republican Committee, the Democrat Committee, the League of Women Voters, the NAACP, and the Electoral Board. So with that, Mr. Harvey and I are happy to take any questions.
Any questions?
Who's the editorial board?
I'm sorry, I misspoke, Electoral Board.
Oh, electoral, okay, I'm sorry, thank you.
No, I did not receive an application from Mr. Barron.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Harvey and Mr. Twigo. You need nothing from us, it's just informational, so we'll be moving on. Item number 19 is deferred until September 21st. That's about our bylaws, so everybody get with Ms. Lamb and Mr. Cohen. They were on the committee. We need to, if you have any questions and need to get additional information on those proposed changes. Item number 20, Human Resources, adopt a telework policy for county employees. For this, we'll recognize Ms. Shannon Wagner. And we've talked about this 3 times in one of these committees we're on. What is it, FAB? So.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, did we defer 22? No, we haven't. It's on there.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. This has come before you a few times now, both to the Finance, Audit, and Budget Committee as well as to the full board at the last meeting. I do have a couple of very quick slides that I will run through as a response to some questions that had come up, and then we'll defer it to you for discussion of the recommended policy. So this chart, this slide really highlights some of the labor market challenges that are existing across the nation for both public and private sector employers. Stafford County already faces wage competition to the north. We're facing retirements that are happening at an increasing pace. Workers' compensation benefits are at a higher place than they have been previously, and all of this compounds into a very difficult labor market in finding good candidates to fill vacant positions. Many localities are seeing significant vacancy rates, percentages of positions that remain vacant and unfilled, and Stafford County is is experiencing some of that as well. And the key point here is, as it relates to telework, is many of our other employers competing for our talent are offering telework policies to some extent, and we feel that it is important from a competitive perspective to be able to offer a telework policy in some form. A question had come up at the last meeting regarding our workers' compensation provider and the relationship to the safety checklist that is currently in draft to be included as part of the process. The workers' comp provider does not require that we provide or that we ask our employees to complete a safety checklist. It is, however, part of their best practices and also something that we had seen in a number of other examples of established telework policies that were out there. The real intent here is for us to find a way for the employee to acknowledge that the work site that they will be working in is free of hazards and that they will keep it that way. However, there are certainly other options to meet this goal. And then finally, the number of days in the proposed policy has come up a number of times from different meetings and conversations. The proposed policy would allow for 2 telework days maximum per week for an employee and a maximum of 1 telework days per week for a manager, someone who is supervising 1 or more employees. Exceptions to this can be reviewed and approved by the county administrator in cases where there may be extenuating circumstances. And then we are planning to bring an update back to the Finance Audit and Budget Committee within 6 months from approval to just let you all know how things are going and have further discussion. During your approval, it would be helpful to understand if the board supports the proposed number of days of telework, or if an alternative arrangement would be preferred. And that really is the end of my prepared comments.
Any questions? Mr. Snellings?
So, Ms. Wagner, you're saying that because our insurance folks don't require a safety checklist, are you eliminating that from the proposal?
We had not eliminated it from the proposal, but we could do so.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Ms. Bomke?
So I was the one that recommended that we do a pilot for this and then come back after, is it 6 months?
I proposed 6 months, yes,
Right.
ma'am.
What kind of metrics are we using when we come back?
We had worked with a number of our departments to find out what metrics would work for them. And, we have a number of different types of jobs that we employ at the county, and so I don't think it would be a universal one-size-fits-all approach, but we would continue to work with our departments to be able to bring back some cumulative statistics for the FAB committee. That is a
Okay.
work in progress at this time.
Okay, great. Thank you for that update.
Okay. All right, Ms. Lamb.
I just wanted, when you're doing your metric analysis, just, I'm not trying to be academic here, but when you have disparate data, and especially in an organization like this, that using regression analysis, even to compare apples and oranges, can give us that answer that the board's looking for the improvement of the productivity or the impact on productivity to the county. Thanks.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, Mr. Snell.
Actually, why would we need a metrics? We just had our employees at home for a year. So why would we need to do that again? I mean, we already know that it works. I think they were home for a year, somewhere in that neighborhood. Am I? Somewhere. So, I mean, we already have that. So I'm not sure why we would need to do that again.
Madam Chairman.
Yes, go ahead.
One of the reasons why I suggested metrics in our previous subcommittee meetings was because from what I understand is that not all departments captured that. And there were significant questions about the productivity that occurred. So yes, you would have thought that, but I understand that it wasn't cohesive across the organization. That's why we suggested that we establish some metrics and start today counting what those are. Thank you, sir. It was in our FAB meeting, so, or CDC.
Do you want to add anything to that, or Mr. Presley, anything, any comment to that? No, not to put anybody on the spot, but.
It's something that, again, it's going to be so different from department to department in terms of the metrics, that I'll be honest with you, 6 months isn't really going to be enough time for us because we don't have the baseline necessarily in the metrics that are going to be developed. So I think that's something more long-term we would look at. But for a 6-month trial, it's really just going to be more, are departments getting their work done? Are we hearing more complaints? It's that type of thing that, we saw some of when we went to a lot of employees teleworking until we adjusted and got the technology and all the things in place. I don't think it's an issue now because of where we were at the end of this. But, and I certainly don't think the 6 months trying to develop these is going to be enough because, again, we don't have that baseline. But that's something that we are looking at and we will continue to look at. And as we've spoken to you all about in the past, we're doing these department-level business plans as part of this whole effort that we're doing with the Office of Budget and Management, and every department is going to have very concrete metrics that will have that baseline, and then moving forward, anything like this we do will be able to be judged against those, but we're not there yet.
Okay. Any other substantial comments? Because I think we do need to move on. We still have a ton left on the agenda. So does anybody want to make a motion? I know, I'm sorry. They make fun of me all the time because I rush them.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Supervisor Lamb, a second by Supervisor Bomke. Discussion, please.
Just real quickly, so is this, I mean, quite honestly, I don't see the need for the 6-month time period. I agree with Mr. Snelling. We've lived that for a year, and I'm not quite sure that we'll have the data. So if that's part of this, I'll support it, but I really think that we're at a stage where if there are problems, the county administrator and his people will lean on the people who are not doing it. So, I mean, I'll support it, but I don't think that's necessary.
I have a really quick clarifying question. Just to this point, let's say that the board starts getting a lot of complaints. We could always repeal the policy in a few months, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, ma'am.
Exactly.
Mr. Snelling?
I'm going to reluctantly support this, and the reason I say reluctant, because I don't think 2 days is enough. We've already heard that our neighbors to the north are doing this, and if we don't get on board with more than 2, I'm in favor of 3 or 4 days if we can do it. But I'm going to support it. It's a start. I'm not in agreement with the safety checklist. I think it's kind of an invasion of privacy. But here again, I'll support it just to get this thing rolling. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Ms. Lamb?
I'm going to support it, but I definitely agree with Supervisor Snellings. I've always thought that the safety checklist was silly when the federal government required it, and I'm glad to hear that it's not really, it has an impact on workers' comp. So, but in addition, back to the 6 months, I think the reason why we said 6 months is let's try 2, but I fully support 5 days a week if that makes sense and it improves the productivity of our individuals and retention. So I will support this.
Okay. All right, go ahead and cast your votes. Tally the votes. That motion passes 5 with 2 absent. And now we are moving on to item number 21. And I have been informed that as part of the capital projects transportation discussion, we also need to add to that the Belmont Ferry Farm Trail Phase 6, which is item number 24 under new business. So, Mr. Oziak, are you prepared to handle all of those in your presentation?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Okay.
I have to admit it might make better sense to discuss the Belmont Ferry Farm project first, since that kind of
Sure.
has an impact on the revenue sharing and TAP applications, if we could kind of just.
Sure. Is everybody okay with that? All right, very good.
All right, let me grab my notes for that. All right, excellent. So yes, good evening. My name's Alex Oziak, Transportation Program Manager, here to provide an update on the Belmont Ferry Farm Trail project and obtain some direction from the board on how to proceed this evening. First, just some brief history on the project. The Belmont Ferry Farm Trail System first came to fruition back in 1999 when Vdot approved the initial funding for this project. Fast forward a decade to about 2011, and construction was already underway for the first 2 phases of what is ultimately a 6-phase project. By 2018, initial segments of the trail from Belmont to Pratt Park had already been construction, and construction had wrapped up on Phase 4 of the project between Pratt Park and the Chatham Bridge. Now, more recently, staff has been working with our consultant engineers on a final phase of the project intended to extend the trail all the way out to Ferry Farm. Now, since the project inception, the final phase of this trail has consisted of numerous potential alignments, and many of these alignments have been eliminated for a variety of different reasons, from environmental impacts along the river there, difficulties with the National Park Service, and pushback from the Ferry Farm Foundation itself. Kind of the latest alignment of the trail was approved by the board back in 2019, which actually terminated the project at the Route 3 and Cool Springs Road intersection due to those difficulties obtaining right-of-way from the Ferry Farm Foundation. We've developed approximately 30% design plans for this alignment, and those were submitted to Vdot back in late 2020 for review. Upon Vdot's review of these plans, they raised concerns about the federal funding requirements and required the project to extend the trail all the way out to the Ferry Road intersection, as well as begin construction by 2022 in order to be in compliance with those federal funds and cutoff limitations associated with them. So in order to meet those Vdot requirements, staff has kind of looked at 2 options for this project. Hit the wrong button here. Oh, here we go. All right, so the first option here is to construct the trail from Chatham Bridge to the CSX underpass, which would utilize the old Dairy Lane alignment and existing Vdot right-of-way along that road alignment. However, local property owners are not in favor of this alignment due to potential impacts to their property. Staff did look at aligning the trail to go along Route 3 and down Naomi Road to the CSX underpass. However, this alignment would require considerable amount of work on Route 3. There's a large slope there we'd have to build out, which would be quite a large expense and right-of-way acquisition. Not to mention additional required crossings across Naomi Road, and then a potential development that's on Naomi Road with impacts to that and the trail there. Once we connected up with the CSX underpass, the trail would continue following along Naomi Road down to the Route 3 Cool Springs intersection, where it would cross Route 3 at that point, and then continue down the east side of Route 3 in front of the commercial center there, and terminate right there at Ferry Road where the old 7-Eleven was. Let's see, the other trail alignment down Naomi Road obviously significantly increased the costs and requires difficult property acquisitions. The estimated cost to extend the entire project from Chatham Bridge down to Ferry Road is approximately $3.5 million. So the second option that staff came to come up with this project was actually to just cancel this phase of the Belmont Ferry Farm Trail project and instead terminate the trail at its current connection with Chatham Bridge. This would require the county to repay any kind of federal reimbursement we've received from Vdot to date, which totals approximately $130,000. However, canceling the project certainly would not prohibit us from seeking additional funding for a new project at a later date. These 2 next slides kind of lay out the proposed alignment for the Belmont Ferry Farm Trail. Here in yellow, this would follow the existing alignment of Old Dairy Road and connecting up to the underpass at the CSX Railroad. Where the option in green there shows it continuing down Route 3, down Naomi Road, and again to the underpass and going all the way to Cool Springs. And then for the kind of the ending phase of that project from Cool Springs, we developed 2 options. Our preferred option obviously is to go down kind of the east, or would be the southern portion of Route 3 here in front of that commercial shopping center. Whereas the other alignment that we had previously looked at was right there along the west side of Route 3, all the way running down the Ferry Foundation property to the entrance to Ferry Farm. So really we need kind of a decision regarding this project because it's going to have an impact on the projects and funding we're seeking for FY23 and 24 transportation alternatives projects. Right now, this is possibly one of our projects that we would seek for funding and would, obviously have to probably kick another project off the list if we were to pursue this project. However, if the board decided to defer action on the Belmont Ferry Farm Trail tonight, we do have one more opportunity to bring it back to the board on September 21st before final applications for these funding programs are due on October 1st. And with that, I'll kind of answer any questions from the board.
Madam Vice Chair.
Go ahead, Supervisor Bonke.
Thank you. Okay, I have a question, and I see Kyle from Vdot still here, and perhaps you can answer this question, Alex. Some of the people that lived back on Dairy Lane referenced the flooding back there and the bridge that has been compromised.
Mm-hmm.
Has all of that, the fix to that area, been assumed in the $3.5 million for the project? Was
Yes.
that all taken into account?
Yes, in fact, we already did develop kind of 30% plans for that section there along Old Dairy Lane, which would replace, I believe it was a box culvert or something there. It looks like it's been washed out quite a bit, and we would have to put a pedestrian bridge back there to replace that structure.
And would that flooding continue back there, or with these new improvements, that won't be a problem?
With the continued flooding, it should not be an issue for the Belmont Ferry Farm Trail section itself. And in fact, it is also part of a different effort we're kind of taking here. We have installed a variety of flood sensors throughout the county. In fact, one right there at the Dairy Lane underpass location there to kind of keep a tally on possible flooding conditions.
Okay, all right, so you didn't need Kyle for that. All right, you already knew the answer, thank you. That's one question, that's the question I have for you, thank you.
Any other questions? Michelle, or Lamb?
Yeah, Madam Chairman, I had one question for Alex, or it doesn't matter. One of the constituents stood up and talked about the 16 acres of land access to the townhomes was being cut off, and that was going to impact their liability. Could you address that? Could you show us on a map where that 16 acres is that they're going to lose access to?
Sure. I believe if we look at it here, it's kind of difficult to show on the map here, but if you look at the structure coming down, the yellow alignment coming down where it connects up here with the existing blue trail, I believe Ms. Watson does own a lot of property there, on both sides of that existing VDOT right-of-way. So I believe that's what she was referring to, is where if we went up there and constructed a actual improvement in there, that would provide a physical blockage from her accessing her other portion of the land.
So it's her private property, not owned by the townhomes?
No.
I don't believe the townhomes owns the property back there, no.
Okay, I misunderstood that.
If I may, Ms. Watson has a home on Naomi Lane, and so she's the one that we're talking about, that her property is bisected by this. The townhomes are a little bit farther, right down there, and so it's two different parcels.
Anybody else have questions? Okay, no other questions? All right. Do you want to continue on with the rest of the presentation?
That was it for Belmont Ferry Farm Trail. We don't have to make a decision about that right at this time. If you want, I can go through the other transportation alternatives presentation, and then we can have a further discussion then if you'd like.
Madam Chair, I just would like to deal with this now, because you just said that it sort of folds over into what could be done in other projects. So I'm going to make a motion for R21-330, which would be to stop the trail at the Chatham Bridge. And if I get a second, then I'll explain.
I second.
Thank you, sir.
Mr.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a substitute motion.
Go ahead.
I would like to move for approval of the Belmont Ferry Farm Trail.
Okay, so we have a motion, substitute motion to approve. Do we have a second on that?
I'll second that for discussion, but I have a point of order.
Okay.
Didn't you say that you were motioning to approve 21-330?
Right.
And I have it on my list as a TAP for Salisbury Drive and Forston Drive. So is that wrong?
I can explain that perhaps a little bit. So in developing applications for our TAP projects, we've kind of pursued 3 projects right now because we were unsure of the status of the Belmont Ferry Farm Trail. Those 2 application resolutions for the TAP projects set our priorities for our funding. VDOT has asked us to limit our project applications to just 2 projects for the TAP program. So our 21, I believe, is 320 would set the priorities as Belmont, Ferry Farm, and Salisbury, and R21 330 would remove Belmont and set our priorities as Salisbury and Forest and Woods.
Okay. So is it, you have the correct motion, Tom?
Yes.
Okay, got it. So we have a substitute, and it's been seconded. Do we
Madam
have?
Chairman,
Yes.
just a point of clarification. So is the substitute motion then for R21 320? Is that correct? R21 320 includes the Belmont Ferry Farm Trail Phase 6, so is that the correct motion?
Correct. Yes.
Thank
Okay.
you, Madam Chairman.
And that's what you intended to second, Supervisor Lamb?
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to clarify for the record. Okay, discussion on that substitute motion. That would get a vote first. So, discussion, go ahead, Ms. Bomke.
So we've been working on this for a long time. We just had another meeting up in infrastructure and discussed a lot of the different options. You know, I even agreed to a compromise being over in front of the shopping center. You know, I certainly understand, you know, the George Washington constituents' concerns down there. And my question would be, and recommendation would be that could the county put up some kind of a fence as a part of the trail project to protect the people that are over there from any passerbyers seeing their tot lot back there, because that's a safety issue. I get that. So could we put that up? And then, you know, obviously, you know, the enforcement would be as it relates to the vehicles and people parking back there. But I don't see that as a big issue. I understand that they don't have a lot of extra parking back there, but if somebody gets towed, they'll only get towed once, and they're not going to pull over there again. And I think it's our responsibility to notify people that they need to park over at the shopping center to get on the trail. You know, you don't park in this subdivision. And, you know, as a lot of emails have come in and conversations with people that spoke today, there are some people in the townhomes that are in favor of the project. You know, the walkability is just really important. And if we learn nothing else from COVID, we realize that people have discovered the outdoors with their families, you know, with other relatives. And I'm just a big trail person. You know, Bob Thomas and I, when he was on the board, we really fought for the trail, the dedicated lane going across the Chatham Bridge. And Kyle, I think you were here then, you know, VDOT really didn't want to do that, but it did add a lot of extra costs. But I think it's something that the community is so excited about. In fact, I heard it today when I was down on the trail. So, you know, I definitely want to work with the people that live in the townhomes, and there are some things that we might be able to do as a county to mitigate some of their concerns. But I think for the entire county and the entire community, I think that, you know, it would be great to extend the trail. Thank you.
Liam. That's
Lamb,
okay.
I'm sorry.
Bob.
It's gonna be
Anyway.
hard for me to break.
Yeah, that's okay. I really want to talk to this, and even if it's not relevant comments, just saying. But I do want to talk to this because I feel quite uncomfortable about one thing, is when I looked at this and I met with, you know, my friend Supervisor Cohen and talked about this and really understood, because it's in, all of this is in his district. Everything we're talking about is in his district. And he understands the voice of his customers. He gets that. And understanding all those different points was really super important to me. And initially I'm like, yes, I agree with Supervisor Cohen. But and the reason I'm doing this is a public apology to Supervisor Cohen, because I don't like it when anybody flips or changes their mind. And I have. And the reason I have is for two reasons. Number one is that moving it across the street, or moving that portion across the street to away from Ferry Farms, was important to me. And because it made sense. And Supervisor Cohen really, you know, was very cogent about his explanation on that. And then another part of it was when I realized through DRPT that we were going to be doing some improvements on that one bridge that was a super concern of mine. And once I talked to DRPT, oh, I'm sorry, then I understood that, hey, you know, just like what we found a missed opportunity before, if we didn't design it now, then it would be a missed opportunity later. So it's really important that we get that on the books now, so that has to be taken in consideration in the new design. Nobody likes the current design, but we all know that in the future it's going to be changed. So that's number 2. That was super important to me. Number 3, walkability is critical for Stafford County, absolutely critical. And there are places nobody wants past to go. I mean, frankly, it's always in that, not in my backyard. Everybody wants to walk, but not near me. And I get that. And so I have to think about, where are we going to be 40 years from now, 30 years from now? What is that going to look like? Are these going to be the same constituents there? I care immensely about his constituents, just like I hope he cares about mine. But looking at the overall walkability and where this plays into the bigger plan would be a missed opportunity later. And so I want to, first of all, say I support the idea, I support what we're doing now, and that's why I seconded Ms. Bomke's, but I wanted to have discussion. And then in addition to that, Supervisor Bomke raised some significant concerns that we all do, is the protection of those residents. We want to make sure that we find those mitigation measures, whether we apply them or we pay for them in a reimbursement process, to protect their tot lots, to make sure that their parking lot is appropriately used. And we know that they have to do the enforcing of it, but there's lots of things that we can do. I don't know how to add that specific part into the resolution, but if we did not do that, I would not support it. And so my comments to you is making sure that we absolutely, you know, support and protect those residents to ensure that their tot lot is protected, whether it's a fence or whatever's viable. I don't know what that is, a berm. You guys know the answer. Replacing of the landscaping we were already going to do. So a lot of the things that we had already planned to do, we need to make sure it's codified in what we're saying so it doesn't get lost. And that's coming from the Planning Commission to us. So I apologize to Supervisor Cohen publicly, but I've changed my mind, and I'm doing it because I think it's for the betterment of Stafford County.
Mr. Snelling.
I would remind my fellow board members that this is in Mr. Cohen's district.
Yes.
Mr. Cohen is going to be the individual getting all the complaints. Mr. Cohen is the one that's going to get people upset with him at election time because his trail is going in their backyard. We're just going to walk away from it. How long is this trail, this extension?
I'm sorry, sir, I actually do not have that
Is it a mile?
exact feed. It's less than a mile.
Less than a mile. I don't believe the population of Stafford County, I don't believe their health is going to go in the sewer because of a 7/10 of a mile extension on a trail. It's his district. He's decided against it. His constituents are against it, and we need to vote against it, period. And if we don't, something come up in one of our districts, guess what's going to happen?
Mr. Cohen?
Yes. First of all, this has started. It happened a long time ago. It started in 2014. The residents have been lucid, clear, and consistent that having the trail go down Dairy Lane is not amenable to them. They worked with Mr. Janney to come up with a plan that would put it on Naomi Road, which right now, the many residents that live down that area walk up Naomi Road to go across the Chatham Bridge to go into the city. So they're already using that road. As was eloquently pointed out by Ms. Watson, whose land will be bisected, and that is not being addressed by the individuals wanting to see compensation or help. She pointed out that when Mr. Janney builds his project, he has to put in sidewalks anyways. So that is a moot point. The idea about the tunnel was raised. At this juncture, we have no knowledge definitively. I'm not sure if Kyle's still here. Hi, Kyle. You can just wave at me and give me whatever finger you want to give me. We don't know what VDOT wants to do with that tunnel right now. Whether it's going to be completely closed, one-way closed for pedestrian, have a light on one side, which side the tunnel is going to be closed. There's all that is up in the air. Am I correct?
I think we.
Sorry, I think we've found a reasonable solution for that. What we would look at doing is having alternating traffic through one lane of that tunnel, and the other side of that tunnel would be used for the pedestrians, shared use path. Now, it does meet sight distance for that. We did check that out.
And if memory serves me, that tunnel would be on Naomi Road. So we don't know that. We are looking at a cost to the county of $130,000 if we stop the trail right now at Chatham, and then go forward when we have more information, whether it's about exactly what happens on Doug Janney's property. We found out that there is other money that is going to be available regarding bike trails and walking trails from Quantico down to Dahlgren. That will be available. I think Ms. Baumke at one of the, not this committee meeting, but the month ago said that there is more money that is coming through the various channels. So this is not a killing of said trail. It is a delaying of said trail. I also would point out that it is in Mr. Janney's proffer to pay for and do this trail. Ergo, if this trail is shoved down Dairy Lane against the residents' desires, when Mr. Janney comes in for his development, he will then have to come in to get a proffer adjustment, of which the advertisement for that public hearing will be borne by this county board. So when you're talking about this, you're talking about spending $570,000 and the cost of the advertisement. The point was raised, we should be working with the people. That was the whole point of us waiting at last meeting. I reached out to the neighbors. There is nothing you can do to mitigate the fact that this is going to go on their property. I reached out to Ms. Watson. There's nothing you can do to mitigate the impact on her property. So therefore, you are saying to these people, we don't care, because you want to put a trail in at this date rather than wait a year or two when we have more information. And to the point that we're thinking 30 or 40 years from now, if we wait a year or two when VDOT has finally given us all the information on that tunnel, when we finally know what's happening with the high-speed rail, and if it's making a new tunnel, and maybe by some miracle they'll get rid of the one that's falling down. When VDOT, who is at this juncture talking with Mr. Janney about working on his development, which they weren't for 2 or 3 months, rather than wait a month or two, or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, to make it that the people who will be impacted by this, who have a solution and like a solution, are honored and respected, the desire by some is not to. And if I'm a little annoyed, it's because I'm massively annoyed. I noticed you change. I'm going to be a jerk. I really don't like to be a jerk, but I'm really furious. In our infrastructure committee meeting, when you showed the alternate paths, you said residents who oppose this path, you said because of wetlands and because disagreements with property owners. You changed that for the evening, for this presentation, but that some of those paths were stopped because of the residents not wanting it. And we're going to just say to those residents in this area, because they're not yours, too bad for you. So I'm going to vote against this motion. I am deeply displeased, he will say, out of a respectful tone.
Ms. Baumke.
So the only other thing that I would like to raise is that I think that the public needs to know that in Mr. Janney's property, VDOT talked about and met with them and talked about taking some land from his property, which would total about 23 feet. And you pretty much validated that today, Alex, in our meeting. 23 feet, give or take, okay? And he specifically said, I don't have 23 feet to give. So I respect what Mr. Cohen is saying, but I'm not sure the path is even going to take place at Naomi Road when Mr. Janney brings his project. So I don't think that's even a fair option at this point in time. Because even if we need 20 feet, he doesn't have 20 feet. And maybe we should have gotten into more particulars when Mr. Janney proffered this project, that he didn't have enough room. Because now we're hanging out on something that may not even ever work. So with that, I would like to pull my substitute motion back. And in light of the fact that we have 2 board members that are not here right now, and I think it's always important to have the full board engaged on any kind of a vote. And if this were in my district, I would want that to take place. I would actually like to have a deferral until our September 21st meeting, so that Supervisor Dudenheffer and Supervisor Allen could participate.
Okay.
Okay, do we have a second for that?
Don't I have to?
Yeah, you'd have to
you'd
agree with it.
agree. That's-
Yeah, I agree. Okay,
You agree?
I do, I agree. Can we discuss it?
Yes, very quickly, because we do need
Okay.
to move on.
No,
Yeah,
we should-
I think this is pretty easy vote,
Okay,
you know.
no, I'll
if
just
we wanna-
hold. I'll
Okay,
hold.
all right.
What
Well,
did she say?
by the bylaws, I have to ask if there's discussion, and I can't stop it, so I would just ask you to be brief. Anybody? Okay, very good. Go ahead and cast your vote to defer this item to the 3 o'clock meeting on the 21st. Tally the votes, and that motion carries 4-1 with 2 absent. Okay, do you need, are these other items time sensitive?
If it behooves the board, I'd like to at least continue and provide the presentation on our revenue sharing applications, and perhaps you would make a motion on that resolution, so we could at least finish up those project applications.
Okay, can you do it very briefly?
Sure, I will try to run through that very
Were these covered
quickly.
in infrastructure today?
Just very briefly, yes.
Okay.
So just again, like, VDOT's already issued the call for a project. We have submitted our preliminary pre-applications, and VDOT has gone ahead and screened those in for eligible projects. And as I mentioned, final applications are due October 1st. I will just cover the revenue sharing, since we'll come back and discuss the TAP projects back in September 21st. So if again, revenue sharing, just a quick overview on the project. Again, this is a revenue reimbursement project where dollars are matched dollar for dollar from the state, with a maximum of $5 million per fiscal year and $10 million per project. Per our CIP, we've already identified 2 projects to apply for this FY 27 through 28 revenue sharing, and that would be the Garrisonville Road Widening project.
I'm
and-
sorry, I have to call a quick recess because we've lost 4 board members.
Okay.
Hang on one second.
Certainly.
go ahead.
All right, so picking back up on our revenue sharing projects, as I mentioned, the CIP already identified the Garrisonville Road project and the Route 1 and Lay Hill Road intersection is a project to submit for FY 27-28 revenue sharing. Here's just a brief outline of kind of the scope of the Garrisonville Road project, widening Garrisonville to 6 lanes from Eustis to Shelton Shop. We'd have a raised concrete median with 5-foot sidewalks on both sides. And as I said, it would continue all the way to the Shelton Shop intersection. And then for the Route 1 and Lay Hill Road intersection here, we'd be doing some minor widening on Route 1 to provide some additional turn lanes onto, turn lanes on Lay Hill Road onto US 1, as well as at Forbes Streets and into the commercial business right there at the intersection with the bank and the gas station. So Resolution R21-319 for this evening sets the funding priorities for the revenue sharing, with Garrisonville Road set as a #1 priority, and US 1 Lay Hill set as our 2nd priority, and this was mainly selected due to the funding amounts required for those 2 projects. So that application would, that resolution would authorize the application for funding and would commit the county to the matching $10 million. And with that, I'll stop there and see if there's any questions on the revenue sharing.
Okay, any questions? Okay, seeing none. All right, I need a motion on R21-319. Do we have a motion?
I have a motion for 319.
Okay, motion to approve by Supervisor Lamb. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Go ahead and cast your votes. Tally the votes. That motion carries 4 with 3 absent. Okay,
Okay, and then I will bring back discussion on Belmont Ferry Farm and our transportation alternatives funding projects on September 21st.
okay, fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, due to our time constraints, we are going to be moving new business to after the public hearings this evening, and we will be going into our closed session meeting at this point until our 7 o'clock meeting. So Supervisor Lamb, will you please read us into closed session?
Sure, Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for a resolution to authorize a closed meeting, whereas the board desires to hold a closed meeting for consultation with legal counsel pertaining to United States versus Stafford County, All Muslim Association of America versus Stafford County, and Allen et al. Versus Stafford County, where such consultation and open meeting would adversely affect the litigating posture of the board, discussion and consideration of the acquisition of real property for a public purpose, where discussion and open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the board, and discussion concerning the expansion of an existing business where no previous announcement has been made of the business's interest in expanding its facilities in the county. And whereas pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2-3711A3, A5, and A7, such discussions may occur in closed meeting. Now therefore it be resolved by the Stafford County Board of Supervisors on the 7th day of September 2021 that it be and hereby does authorize discussion of the above matters in a closed meeting.
Okay, do I have a motion? Do I have a second? Okay, and before you guys do that, I got to make my fancy little disclosure. I would like to disclose that I own property located across the street from 1508 Garrisonville Road, which is owned by the All Muslim Association of America and is subject to active litigation. My property is among several parcels which could be impacted or affected by the use of 1508 Garrisonville Road as a cemetery. Discussions regarding the litigation and the 1508 Garrisonville Road property would have countywide impacts and have no sole impact on my property. In accordance with Virginia Code Section 2.2312B1, I have no conflict of interest that would prevent me from participating fairly, objectively, and in the best interest of the public. I have also provided a disclosure to the clerk in writing. The clerk, if you'll please record my disclosure in the record today and at any future meetings where the board discusses or considers this matter. Any further discussion? Please cast your votes. Tally the votes. That motion carries 5-0 with 2 absent. We are now in closed session.